Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
BetUS.com. If you guys are betting on the games, whether it's NFL, NCAA, of course, you're not going to do that now. Maybe basketball, not football, but of course, the NHL, NBA, go to BetUS.com. You get a 125% sign-up bonus. And also, if you use this code right here, the promo code of TSW22, which, by the way, stands for the sports web, TSW22, or call that number 1-800-69-BET-US. Again, 1-800-69-BET-US, and put in that promo code TSW22, and I would really appreciate that.
I've had 27 beers spilled on me. Make that 28.
I've only got one place to go before the game.
BetUS.com.
Sign up at BetUS.com and get the best bonuses in the industry.
When people say there's no baseball fan for the Rays, what do you have to say to them? Well, no, there are fans. I mean, personally, I do think that they probably do need to move, switch stadiums, but there are fans. There are fans, and there are a lot of fans out here tonight, and, you know, what a perfect way to come out tonight and support the Rays in the playoffs. It's been 6 years since they've been out of the playoffs. So,
and that was Zach Mitchell, Rays fan, who I met 3 years ago at Ferg's Sports Bar and Grill. Now, the reason why I tell this story is because eventually I would become the roommate to Zach. Zach remembered me from that show because, as I always say, whomever you meet in life, be nice to them because you never know what's going to happen. And if you have an opportunity to get somebody on camera, you treat them as if they're a superstar. Now, two things came to mind here. First and foremost, the whole national narrative that the Rays don't have fans is hogwash. Zach is the great example of that. And then on top of it, I feel like the Rays should take my advice. Be nice to every fan that walks into Tropicana Field. In fact, endear yourself. Treat them as if they're a superstar. Who knows, Stu and the Rays? Take my advice and you may end up like me. I kind of ended up okay. For another edition of Peter's Perspective Live on Amped Up Sports, I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about.
Merry Christmas. Say, I love football. Say this. Say Tampa. Bay. Bay. Tampa. Tampa. Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. Say Tampa.
Tampa.
Bay. Bay. Oh my God, she's so smart and she's so precious. I love her to death.
Bingo. Uncle Peter. Uncle Peter. Uncle Peter. Where's Uncle Peter? I call him.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about on this Victory Monday. And as I always talk about this on this show, anytime a team wins on Sunday, doesn't it feel better? I mean, doesn't your breakfast taste better? Doesn't your day go just a little bit more smoother, if you will? After the Tampa Bay Lightning take care of business over the New York Rangers 3-2. So we'll be talking about your Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. Basically a must-win scenario yesterday, and they get it done after being down 2-0. A lot of Lightning fans freaking out. Oh, by the way, thanks a lot for Ranger fans showing up. You always got to love that. So we'll have the legend himself, former Coach Scott, and now media member of Night Sports Productions, Amped Up Sports, Mr. Leo Haggerty, on with us coming up here in a couple minutes. And then after that, we will have the Shooter and Stache along with Thomas Schooley of We the Thunder podcast. And then, of course, we'll take your phone calls. Not only Lightning talk tonight, we could talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers around the NFL. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let me go back out to the comments really quick as the webheads can get on here. But how do we start off this show? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. Once again, I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about live here on I Love St. Pete, Amped Up Sports, and The Hub. Ed goes, your love. No, that was my little niece. And my roommate that I'm talking about now, as I am in Palm Harbor. What I was talking about on the Peter's perspective was that I met the man a couple years ago, was nice to him, and I feel like the Rays should kind of be nice to their fans. You know, kind of take a page out of my book, if you will. Just saying. I'll acknowledge you. I will acknowledge you. You're the guy that said the Lightning were done after the Toronto series. So here you go.
Shut up!
Yours didn't laugh out loud. Talk about the 5 Rays players. Why do we want to do that? I guess we could do that if you want to. I really, rather, if I'm just, talking about sports, I'd rather talk about that instead of political issues. I'm just sorry. I'd rather do that. It's more, for me, productive, if you will. But I guess if you guys want to talk about that, we can always talk about anything that your little heart desires. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this guy on. Let's talk about your Tampa Bay Lightning on this Victory Monday. Are you feeling good out there? I don't want to hear crickets tonight. Here we go. All right, let's go out to the legend himself, former Coach Scott, a member of Night Sports Production, Amped Up Sports, Mr. Leo Haggerty. Welcome to the evolution. Let's see if we got your sound loud and clear. Go ahead.
Well, Peter, I came in and I came out and I came in again. So hopefully we have no static. What are you hearing?
I'm hearing absolutely crystal clear from the legend himself, who was out there yesterday covering this game. And, at the end of the day, it was a must-win game. Give me your thoughts so far, not only on the last game here, but give me your thoughts on the rest of the series. Welcome.
I'll tell you what, Peter, 2-1 New York. Everybody's held serve at home, but I can tell you one thing. Let's see how the Rangers react to losing. And again, they're up 2-1, and they're probably in the back of their mind going, hey, if we lose this one, we still got 2 at Madison Square Garden. I wouldn't want to let Vasilevsky get hot. And yesterday, they had their foot on the Lightning's throat. They're up 2-0, 2 power play goals. And frankly, the Rangers let it get away. They let it get away completely. And you got to stay out of the penalty box because Tampa Bay really hurts you on the power play. There were 4 power play goals, the first 4. And then, Andre Palat with the last one in the last 42 seconds was the difference. And that's, again, who passed him the puck, Peter? The Magic Johnson of hockey, Nikita Kucherov. He just finds people.
He finds people, and I thought of you automatically when the dish was there to Palat. And I put this out on a post. I don't feel like Andre Palat gets enough respect, but he has 10 career game-winning goals in the playoffs. Talk about him, and once again, the magician in a Kucherov, just amazing.
Peter, you cannot appreciate how good Kucherov is unless you're in the building and seeing it where we are, way up in the press box, because you can see things develop. And Peter, talk about a guy who is underrated in the league, not with this team, is Andre Palat. All he does is show up and play hockey. And here's the worst thing, Peter. Everybody's talking that he's going to be a cap casualty at the end of the year. So you can see people are playing hard to get one more for Andre. And that's just that's the way this team is. And again, they're one leg in the grave. The coffin lid is starting to shut, and they jump out. And Peter, I want to get away from this real quick.
Sure.
Did you see Dusty Rhodes' kid last night, what he actually accomplished?
And I tell you right now, we can definitely switch gears here because you are the legend, and you're absolutely right there. Cody Rhodes suffering from a torn pectoral, and you can see when he takes off his coat, it's just all bruised up, not only his chest, but also his arm. The match he went through last night, Hell in the Cell versus Seth Rollins, was amazing. And if anybody ever doubts that, Cody Rhodes is all about this business, think again, because that match to me proved it last night. He is definitely legendary after that match, in my opinion.
And Peter, correct me if I'm wrong. I heard he went under surgery right after the match. Were you hearing the same thing?
I heard the same thing. And look, it's been a devastating week if you're a wrestling fan, because not only did you have Cody Rhodes and that injury, but also CM Punk, who also has an injury. So both of those organizations in the AEW and the WWE trying to push those guys over the top. But, injuries, you can't wrestle through those type of injuries, especially, broken ankles or whatever the injury was, because it was undisclosed from CM Punk. So now, they're going to see what they're going to do. It looks like it's Jon Moxley who's going to be the interim champion, and they're going to determine what's going to happen. But it's a shame for both parties at that point, especially with CM coming from AEW and, of course, Cody coming from AEW to WWE.
Yeah, you know what, Peter? We see an upper body injury and a lower body injury, and that's about how they're going to do it. But I hated to jump off the Lightning, and I want to get back on it now. But
that's fine.
You talk about the show must go on no matter what.
Sure.
Cody Rhodes, hey, kudos to you, pal. You prove what it's like. You are a warrior, no doubt about it.
Yeah, no doubt about it, a warrior. And I tell you, another guy that has an undisclosed injury or a lower body injury, and once again, John Cooper has ruled him out for Game 4 to the disappointment of Lightning fans, and that would be Braden Point. Could you see them I think they're going to win this game on Tuesday night versus the Rangers. To me, they have all the momentum. It looked like the Rangers in that third period were gassed out. And I'll tell you right now, if Point cannot play 4, which Cooper ruled him out today, would you expect him back 5 or 6?
Honestly, Peter, no.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
I think they're trying to get to the Stanley Cup Finals and rest him as much as possible. Now, if they get down 3-1 or 3-2, that may change. But I'll tell you, and you know where they really miss him the most is on the power play, because he just sits right in that low slot, and Kucherov just feeds him like he's feeding the chickens out back. Boom, boom, boom. And you can see that. And Peter, I want to get to one thing that is not going to show up on the stat sheet.
You asked this yesterday, and I was trying to find it, and I could not find it on the internet for some reason. But you asked Coach Cooper about this. Go ahead and say it.
Yeah, and it at the beginning of the power play that led to the second goal, the Lightning had a misprint, and basically Vasilevsky had to cover the puck and get a face-off in their own zone.
Sure.
Cooper puts out Nick Paul to take the face-off, which I'm thinking, oh, this is strange. And Nick Paul gets a clean, and I mean a clean win, and heads right for the bench. And it's almost like maybe Stamkos is the guy that came on. It's either him or Palat. But they go up the right side, boom, hit Kucherov. Kucherov hit Stamkos, goal. And I went to Cooper afterwards. I said, was that just a gut feeling that you wanted to get him on? He said, no, there was a lot more to it. But, boy, I'll tell you what, Nick Paul and Hagel, what a pickup at the trade deadline. I mean, just two guys that are really helping this team. And like I asked both of them, I said, hey, guys, buckle up, Buttercup, because you're in for the ride of your life. You have no idea, coming from Ottawa and coming from Chicago, what it's like. That's for sure.
Well, absolutely. And we're on with the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty here of Amped Up Sports. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about, talking about Mr. Paul. I mean, you don't know if you're going to be able to re-sign him or not, but to me, he's definitely earning some money at this point, and the Lightning would seriously have to consider re-signing him. I love not only how good he is on the face-off like you talked about yesterday, but how aggressive he is, how it doesn't matter if there's two defenders around, he's going to the net no matter what.
Peter, on the 1 4-minute double minor on Kucherov, he actually steals the puck and goes down the ice, gets it, and it's 1-on-3. And he's got it pinned against the boards and saying, see if you can get it out, guys. And he basically killed off almost 30 seconds of that power play himself.
Right.
And, these kind of guys. And, Peter, this question is going to have to be asked. And not now, but between the end of the season and start of next season. I asked Rich McKay, I said, look, there's going to be a time when 47, 55, and 99, you're going to have to cut them loose.
Sure.
He looked me dead in the eye and said, I hope I'm not here. And he wasn't.
Right.
But, I mean, we got to ask Julian Brisebois, the days of somebody playing their entire career for one franchise because of the salary cap, it's just not going to happen. So I hate to say it, but Steven Stamkos may finish out his career in Toronto, and Kucherov may finish out his career probably in Washington with Ovechkin or something like that, because Ovechkin's going to play at least 90. That's just the way it is. But the sad thing is it's just not going to happen because these guys aren't going to take a monstrous pay cut, which they'd have to do. And it's a shame because there's no way around it. And, I mean, we saw Vinny Lecavalier go. We saw Martin St. Louis go. We saw Nikolai Habibulin go just because they can't afford him anymore because of the salary cap.
Right. Exactly. And, just talking to somebody off the air yesterday about this, do you think Palat would take less to stay here? Because you do have a Stamkos, you do have a Kucherov and a point. And I get it. People are saying, guys are going to finish. I think Stamkos finishes out his career. I would tend to be the guy that would be optimistic about this. But again, like you said, you have a salary cap at the end of the day and you have to adhere to it. But do you think a guy like a Palat would take less money in order to stay in this system with the John Cooper and all these young players they have on this team?
Peter, maybe, because if he wins a third ring, what's the sense? You're not going anywhere to find another ring. That's
right.
For sure.
Right.
But again, what do you consider less? Let's say he's making $6 million a year now.
Right.
Can you afford to take 4 or 3? I just that. If you go home and you got to explain that to the missus, okay, right. We're gonna stay here for $3 million. You better get an okay real quick before you even go in to negotiate. And again, that's it. If you have a family, and I truly think Stamkos is going to end up at least a year in Toronto, just because of that's where he had a chance to go there. And when he decided to stay in Tampa, that's when everything started to fall in place, because now the general manager, the head coach could go, hey, our top player wants to stay here. And that's a big thing. And again, Peter, don't think that for 1 minute, no income tax on the state level.
Correct.
That is worth millions in some places, especially if you go to Canada, where, 10 million in Canada is probably like comes out to 4, where 10 million in Florida comes out to maybe 7 or 8. So,
right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Take a couple less million per lot. You have an opportunity to once again, win a Stanley Cup. I mean, going back to the early part of the series where New York looked like they kind of dominated, bad first game there, first minute, you give up an early goal with the turnover. We talked about it with this Lightning team. When they give away the puck, it gives the other team the opportunity to score and score quick, even if you have Vazzy or not. But is that more of this team being older, or the fact that 9 days they're still rusty and now you saw them play their best game yesterday, in your opinion?
Peter, if you watch that game, the Lightning hit everything that moved. And you made an astute, there's our SAT word.
Very nice. Thank you.
Comment that New York looked gassed. They looked gassed because the Lightning hit them every chance they could get. And they were rested for 9 days. Yeah, the first 2 games, they suffered because of that, especially Vasilevsky. You got to play to be sharp as a goalie. But, hey, guess what? Now you're taking advantage of that 9 days, and you're talking about a team that just had to play 14 games, 2 long, hard, 7-game series, and both of them, they were down 3-2.
Yeah.
So, again, there may not be a lot of emotional money left in that bank. So we're going to see. But what I really find interesting, Peter, and for our hockey fans, watch this tomorrow night. The Rangers like to shoot on Vasilevsky to his right. So if they have a power play or whatever, look for them to pass it to their left to 93.
Zibanejad.
Yeah. He will sit out there, and they'll put some people in front of Vasilevsky, but they really like to shoot on his blocker side.
Right. You talk about it yesterday. The Lightning were much more aggressive, 52 shots. I mean, the last goal will pull out. We talked about that, but you talk about Kucherov kind of starting it out, and then you had a good game, but also we had some penalties there where, the Lightning's penalty kill have to pick them up, right?
Yeah. And again, a lot of them, I don't know if you could call it just being a lazy stick or whatever, but the 4-minute double minor, he got a stick up,
right?
And that happens. That's part of hockey. It's like tripping in it. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, you just gotta. I'll take Kucherov in the box for 2, maybe 4 minutes, and I got him on the ice for another 56. Right. I can live with that.
No, you can live with that. And then after that, of course, the Lightning draw a penalty there, being shorthanded with Killorn. The refs did miss out on the minor because I believe it was Belmar who got elbowed.
Oh, boy. Big time. Big time.
See that. The refs miss it. And look, it's an elbow to the head. And, the player who escapes me right now, I'm trying to think of what his name is.
Was it Tumba?
Was it Tamba?
I don't know.
It starts with a T.
Yeah.
Trouba has, done this before with his elbow. He doesn't pick up a penalty. It's clearly there. I don't know where the refs are looking at that point. If you're emphasizing, safety for players in the NHL, you got to make that call, right?
Peter, my only question is, once the first penalty is called, does that negate anything else unless it's a major?
Right.
And that's the one thing that they have to decide on. And again, I got a feeling because Stamkos was over there right away, said, hey, wait, he got elbowed.
Right.
And you could see the referee saying, I get it, but we already had a penalty. Yeah. So probably if he'd have drawn blood, maybe that would have been a different story. I don't know if that's a situation, but Peter, I have not seen a whole lot of once a delayed penalty is called, a second one. Now, I'll see a couple of after the play's over, may get a couple roughing, both teams are fighting, whatever. But boy, to put two people in the penalty box on one play, the referee may not do that.
Yeah, definitely may not do that. And of course, the power play was killed at that point and went on 4-on-4, excuse me. And then the Rangers had a power play. So, hats off to once again the penalty kill. And Cooper even talked about it. He said, look, you don't necessarily have to have a power play at the end of the day. What you have to have is it helps, but you have to have a penalty kill. You have to be able to play defense. And that's the difference between the Lightning. When they have that penalty kill, when they're blocking shots, when they're being physical, I think they're a much better team.
And Peter, when they were playing 5-on-5 yesterday,
yeah,
Lightning were hot. I mean, they were. And Peter, I'll tell you what, that first 20 minutes, I know there was no score, but that may have been the most intense 20 minutes of hockey I've seen in a long time. Yeah. I mean, there were 3 or 4 shots at both ends that are sitting on the doorstep.
Right.
And like there's the puck. Okay, somebody just needs to get to it, and they didn't. But it was intense. In fact, I asked Palat that. I said, hey, you didn't score, but you set the tone. He goes, that's what we need to do every game. And look for the Lightning to cut. And McDonough, oh my Lord, he was hitting. If it moved, it got hit.
Yes.
And, skate, you're going to get hit. And I'll tell you what, didn't hear a lot about that kid line, did we, yesterday, Peter?
No, you sure didn't hear about it. And I tell you, another guy who had a good game and a great save there on the 2-on-1 that was early in that second period was Hedman. Hedman, stopped an opportunity there because if he doesn't, more than likely that could end up in the net. You're exactly right. The kid.
Hey, Peter, did you see Vasilevsky call for the fair catch?
I did see that. And I tell you right now, both of these goalies played well yesterday. Shesterkin, everybody's saying Igor is better. And then he comes out and says Vasilevsky is still better. And look, I get it. Fans want to say Igor is better because he's having an unbelievable year. But right now, you can't compare Vazzy and Igor. Igor's having a great year. But
Igor may be having a great stretch.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, Peter, got to win a game. I want 88 net.
Agree.
Absolutely.
Agree. And it's like you said on Thursday night here on the Sports Web, the longer this goes, to me, it favors the Tampa Bay Lightning because, again, they have the experience. It seems like they're getting their legs under them. They're able to skate. And then on top of it, when you get into that elimination situation, you got the best goalie out there. What is he, like 9-0, 10-0 lifetime with not even a 1-goal average? It's amazing.
Peter, 199 saves out of 200 shots.
Amazing.
In the last set. I mean, it's like, are you kidding me?
Right.
And you know what, Peter? Not a lot of the media asked about, the losing 2 in a row. And that's a streak that was going to come to an end. It was just a matter of when. And,
sure.
And I get it. I understand it.
18, yeah.
Yeah, and that's phenomenal when you think about it. I don't know if it tied the Celtics or it's one better than the Celtics. But
the record, according to ESPN at the time, a statistic, it was a record in all professional sports, 18 in a row. And look, again, I just think it's the 9-game layoff. I don't necessarily think the Rangers are, a better team, but at the end of the day, fans expecting them to go into New York and win 2 straight. There's a reason why they have home ice. Why they've had the Lightning's number. They're a good team. They're getting paid too.
Yeah, and Peter, you know what? When you look at this and you look at what's going down now, to be the best, you got to beat the best.
Oh, I like that. That's good. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Woo! Yeah, and right now, the Rangers are staring the best. I like to compare this to a big brother, little brother fight. Okay. Well, little brother got a couple good ones in early, but big brother stood the ground and said, okay, pal, we're going to show you what it's like now. And that's what happened in game 3. And I'm not a big believer in momentum
Mm-hmm.
in sports because guess what? It's been 2 days. It's going to be 48 hours. It's probably going to be longer. It's going to probably be 52
Yeah.
between games. So I'm not a big believer in that. But I'll tell you what, Peter, is Vasilevsky going to have a clunker? Yeah. Is he going to have 2? Sure. Is he going to have 4? Not a snowball's chance, and you know what.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if the Lightning can score 2 or more goals, they're going to win because Vasilevsky isn't going to give up 3 goals.
Yeah,
It's just not going to happen.
No, he's not, and he's in the elimination situation. He's the best one to have at the end of the day. We got 3 minutes. The terms of the contract that the Bucs signed for Akeem Hicks was revealed. 3 voidable years in total of 2.39 against the cap this year. And according to Greg Allman of The Athletic, they have about $10 million. A report on Sunday from Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times says the Bucs are still confident in getting Gronkowski signed. And this is what I was saying on Facebook. People were like, well, they signed him up to a $10 million contract, and that would be Hicks. I said, look, the Bucs are wizards when it comes to the cap situation. They're going to get him signed. And once again, I still feel like they're going to sign a wide receiver and a Julio Jones. What do you think about that contract that the Bucs signed to Hicks? And then on top of it, the Gronkowski report that the Bucs are still confident.
I like the way that, Peter, we talked about this the other day. If you said, is this an upgrade? And I said, if they had to spend $10 million on Akeem Hicks, I don't think it's an upgrade because you could have probably got sued for that kind of money. So
Sure.
What we're finding out is it's less than $3 million cap hit, which they may have been forced to do because, hey, Gronk ain't paying for the veteran minimum. He ain't doing that. Not happening. Not tonight, not tomorrow, not in a million years. You're going to have to pay him, and you're going to have to pay him an uninsulting salary. Please listen to what I just said. An uninsulting salary. You know, he's not going to come in and play with Tommy for $2 million. It's not happening. So, yeah, having that $10 million around, that's probably a good thing.
It's probably a good thing. Really quick here, one more thing, and then we'll get you out of here. Aaron Donald seemed like he was uncertain with coming back to the NFL after winning a ring. Guess what, kids? He's coming back to the Rams, and he's coming back in total of a contract. Get this, $40 million raise, $95 million for the next 3 years extension. I mean, it's a major contract. Any surprise there? I mean, if you work at your job and you say, you know what? I'm not going to come back. Do you think you get a $40 million raise? Great stuff there by Aaron Donald, right?
We're in the money. We're in the money. Peter, if I'm Aaron Donald, I'm kissing my agent because that's a heck of a deal for a defensive lineman. Just because that's big bucks. And that tells you how important it is to have that guy in the middle. And understand this, when the Rams went 2 years ago, guess who his playing partner was back there? And Ndamukong Suh.
Ndamukong Suh, yeah.
Yep.
All right, so the $95 million, and also 3 years surpasses the $92.3 million paid to Josh Allen. And dwarfs here. Can I get a dwarf? Can I $63 million to Patrick Mahomes? I mean, can I just get like half of that, maybe a quarter of that, dwarfs?
You know what? You know what, Peter? Everybody wondered what the Kansas City Chiefs did signing him. What was it? $150 million for 10 years? Am I close?
It was like total of like $500 or $515 million. Something ridiculous.
Yeah, some ridiculous number. Well, guess what? That ridiculous number is going to start to look good the way this thing, because Deshaun Watson just set the bar, not just with the contract, but it is all guaranteed. Every agent of a quarterback who is a franchise guy is licking their chops right now saying, hey, guys, you're going to have to guarantee a lot of money to get my guy to continue.
Yeah, well, Watson only has $1 million of that guarantee this year. There's a report out there that he may not necessarily be playing this year, and it's not a surprise. And then consequently, in the last week, 2 more civil allegations have come out. So I don't know, man. You know, I'm trying to be open-minded about this, but there's so many allegations out there, and this one is just in a disgusting manner. I think the NFL has to do something, and something fast, because this is just a nightmare of epic proportions when you sign a quarterback with 24 civil allegations, and you're trying to settle out, and you're putting an NDA in there, and you're offering $100,000, and it's just a mess for the National Football League. And I'm kind of wondering if the Browns are kind of dealing with buyer's remorse at this point.
Oh, I doubt it.
Okay.
Remember, you had Baker Mayfield, so it's not buyer's remorse. Peter, again, the one question I wish someone would answer: did he go in to these situations telling people, "Hey, I'm Deshaun Watson"? Now, he went in and say, "I'm Joe Smith," right? So now people don't know who he is. But he went in and Deshaun Watson. Why is it taking so long for this to happen? I mean, if this thing went down the way people are saying, why were they not there the next day with an attorney and saying something? So that's just, again,
the victims haven't come out. They come in out of this report. There's at least 100 strangers. He's used social media to try to get 100 strangers to give him massages. This is just, it's not a good optic. Like, you're trying to get massages for professional purposes, but when it's 100 strangers and you're using social media and you're using your clout for this type of stuff, it's just a bad look at the end of the day. And I cannot see him playing this season for the Browns. So,
Peter, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Is that illegal?
For some of the things that are being reported, yes, some of the things are.
No, putting it out on social media saying, "I want a massage."
Well, I mean,
there's your problem right there. You got it now. Peter, think about if he was married. What that'd be doing now? That just like, whoa, time out.
But the problem was, in this case, the attorneys were selling everybody on the thing of, well, look, he's going to these places for professional massages. If this report is true, that he's trying to get 100 strangers on social media and using his name for that, that is a bad thing. If your whole standard is from the NFL is that you're trying to protect the shield, this is not a good look. It's just not a good look at all, and I don't see it turning out very well. In fact, I think it's a mess for Cleveland. I mean, they have a guy they're paying $19 million for. He doesn't even want to be there anymore. They better be nice to Baker Mayfield, because more than likely you're going to be seeing a lot of Jacoby Brissett.
You know what, Peter? I cannot help but think that before Cleveland even went into these negotiations, they made a call to Roger Goodell and say, "Hey, where is this?
Yep.
What is going to happen?" The police are saying there is no breaking of the law. Now, civil, it's not beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's just, hey, do you think it happened?
Right.
That's the whole difference in a civil lawsuit. Like, hey, like OJ said, hey, if and Johnny Cochran said, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Well, guess what? OJ walked out of that, and in the civil case, he got hammered. And again, just that's the way the law is with that. So.
Yep.
Again, the NFL's got to make a decision here, and I'm hoping they're going to do it soon, because this is just dangling out there. And Peter, here's what's scary: is once the NFL makes the decision, there's going to be more people coming out of the woodwork.
Oh yeah, there's going to be more people coming out of it, because the NFL is again, allowed this to get out of control. But going back to the OJ thing, even though he was innocent, you and I know he was guilty. To me, that's the case. Look, he may have been able to convince that jury that he is innocent of it, but the more these allegations keep on coming out, the more I tend to believe the victims instead of Mr. Watson. Good stuff, Mr. Leo Haggerty. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution.
Check us out on Amped Up Sports. We'll be putting up our late night national and local sports roundup. This is amazing, Peter. Nothing happening in the Tampa Bay area tonight. No baseball, no hockey, but boy, I'll tell you what. Tell me the Rays aren't dealing with another firestorm. Oh my gosh. Oh.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to stay away from that one. I understand both sides of it. And at the end of the day, I feel like, look, I understand where the Rays organization is coming from. I also understand where the players are coming from. You have a right to, believe in what you want to do. Would you like to see more unity on that situation? Absolutely, you would. It's just, this is the reason why you have sports in the first place, to take your mind off of that kind of stuff.
Right. And Peter, I agree. It was a major faux pas by the Rays. They should have ran it by their players. And if they didn't have 100% acceptance, hey, it's baseball. You don't have to make a social statement. And again, to out those 5 guys, I thought was really bad. And to make a decision like, okay, we're going to go with 20 guys wearing this and the other 5 won't. That's like walking around with the Scarlet A, right? Hello. There's hopefully they learned in the future to stay away from these social issues and just go play ball.
Yep, that's it. Just play ball at the end of the day. That's what you want them to do. Good stuff, Leo Haggerty. Thanks a lot for your time here on The Evolution. All right, my friend?
Peter, have a great night. We'll talk to you later.
All right, and we'll definitely have something on Thursday. Keep it tuned here on the Sports Web Live on Amped Up Sports. I Love St. Pete and the Hub. I tell you what, let's go ahead and get these guys on because they've been waiting, running just a little bit late tonight, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and get them all on. There it is, the Thunder right there. I think the Stache is off or he's waiting.
Oh, there he is.
Guys,
he appears with a puff of smoke.
Like guys, welcome to the Evolution. Shooter and Stache here with Thomas Schooley. We the Thunder podcast. You guys have to be so pumped up about that win yesterday by the Tampa Bay Lightning, right?
I mean, yeah, we all are, right? I mean, it was okay. I mean, it's not their best last second victory. Let's be honest; they've had better last second victories.
Right?
No, I mean, come on. How do you not just get super pumped up after a game like that? They really kind of dominated overall, especially the last half of that game. Bounced back from a 2-0 deficit, being 2 down in the series. 40 seconds left. Beautiful play. Our stars came out and shown tonight with Pally and Cooch and Stammer scoring. Hedman with the assists. Perry with the assist. Everything you want in a playoff hockey game when your team's down 2-0 coming back home, right? Everything you want.
Shooter, they needed this win more than anything else to me because not only were the fans upset about this and they were thinking the Lightning were done after being down 2-0 and then the Lightning coming back, but I heard some whispers, look, the Lightning look old, the Rangers look faster, and then at the end of the day, it's more than likely probably the 9 days off that the Lightning are rusty, right?
Yeah, and you know what? The Lightning do look a little old because they're way older than the Rangers, right? So it was really kind of the like Stache said, the stars came out to play, and then the unsung hero, which I don't know how much longer we can call him an unsung hero, but Andre Palat, the old dogs as they called him on ESPN, getting it done.
Well, the old dogs, and I tell you right now, I don't know if you watch the ESPN broadcast, guys, but I try not to be this type of fan or this type of person, but doesn't it seem kind of biased? Like they're biased towards the New York Rangers. Like you can't say anything great about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Am I imagining that?
Well,
again?
they did say some good things, but I think the funniest part is if you go on Twitter and look at what the Rangers fans say about the ESPN broadcast.
It's the same.
It's how much they love the Lightning. So I think no matter way you look at it, whether it was NBC the last whatever how many years, ESPN this year, nobody's going to be happy with the national broadcast because they say nice things about the other team. And usually when they say nice things about the other team, it's because they're whooping your team's butt. And that's kind of, I think, what's happened this year where you see the Rangers fans mad after this game, and you've got Lightning fans mad after game 1 and 2. We've been hearing it since we started doing this show about national broadcasts and no one ever being happy.
Yeah, nobody ever being happy. Thomas, I know you're happy. I see your post all the time on Facebook. Talk about Andre Palat. I kind of put this out there. People mention Kucherov as they should, Braden Point, Steven Stamkos, but why not more love for Andre Palat?
And you heard the big thing from Maroon in the press conference last night when they asked him about the superstars coming in, and then the unsung hero was Palat. And then Maroon says, "Are you not calling Palat a superstar?" I mean,
No,
this
he said
team,
star, not superstar. That's
what was
why I
that?
think sorry. It was. I think that was the difference because he said star, not
Star.
superstar, and that was John Romano who ended up writing a good piece after that question. But I love Maroon's answer. Sorry, I'm not trying to steal the thunder, but yeah, I think that was the difference. If he said superstar and not star, but anyways, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'll tell you what, guys, hold that thought, Thomas. We got a call here. We're going to take some questions tonight. Let's go out to our professional handicapper extraordinaire of 1252 Chicago Sports, Mr. Harry the Greek. You're on with yours truly, along with Shooter and Stache, Thomas Schooley of We the Thunder podcast. Your question for these guys or comment?
What's going on, guys? How you doing, Peter?
Doing good, buddy. How you doing?
Another beautiful night in the Tampa Bay area. It doesn't really get any better than that. Unfortunately, with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I know everybody's really high on them, I think they're victims of having too much time off. I did predict prior to the season starting that they would probably go down in a total of 5 games.
Okay.
Not the better team's going to win.
Right.
In New York. I just think that I predicted first 2 games in New York they were going to go down. The only way they're going to climb back into this, and the only way that I'm wrong, is if they win Game 4. It's just as really simple as that.
Are you starting? You called my show tonight? Are you starting to have yourself some remorse by saying Game 5 with knowing what the Lightning can do in their history and what they did yesterday? Are you starting to think that maybe the momentum or the mo, if you will, Harry the Greek, is in the favor of the Lightning?
Well, I'd like to say yes. Listen, I don't ever go backwards. I never make an excuse, especially from a handicap perspective, whether it's football, baseball, hockey, or even basketball, for that fact. I've always believed in the price makes up for the pay. Feel remorse? No, I never feel remorse or something. I mean, I'm rooting for Tampa Bay.
Right.
But but my heart, when you do, you lose.
It's true.
I've always had a motto: keep your bets low and your returns high. If you can't bet, if you have to bet with your heart, you shouldn't be making a wager whatsoever. Listen, I'm not taking anything away from New York. The Islanders are a hell of a team, buddy. Okay? They really are. This team can skate backwards faster than most teams can skate forward.
Right.
This is a really, really, really good team, and deserving to be a number 1 seed, let alone even being a 4.
Right.
Okay? But Tampa Bay, hey, they're the defending champs. Okay, everybody's going to come out and give them everything, including the kitchen sink. Did anybody see them beating Florida in a sweep? Honestly,
guys, I want to go around. Shooter, you first.
We tried to make our predictions for round 2. I said 7 games. Schooley said 6 games. Stache said 5 games. So no, none of us on this show, and we watch every single game religiously, picked the Lightning to sweep the Panthers, but they sure made it look easy. But I think Harry's right about the Lightning really not, having that long 9-day layover really hurt them. But I think now what we're seeing as they get further into the series, they are starting to catch their groove. You saw it at the end of Game 3. You saw it a lot during end of Game 2, a lot during Game 3. So if they start being the team that's got more confidence and get back to their winning ways like they did with the Panthers after they went on and kind of upset Toronto to come from behind, then watch out, because I think they win the next game. That obviously that Game 5 in New York is going to be crucial, but at some point they could really kind of change the tide in the series. But it all comes down to that next game. They've really got to win at home.
Yeah, they got to win at home at that end of the day. I mean, Stache, do you feel like this team right now, and Harry, I'll put you, I'm still on the phone with you, but I want to hear what these guys have to say. Stache, do you feel like the Lightning right now have the momentum?
I mean, so momentum is really funny in the playoffs, and it's hard to kind of carry over from game to game. It really just becomes mentally what they can do, how they can start in the next game. And it just, if they can come out and continue to play the way they have at the end of Game 2, mostly through Game 3, I think then, yes, they carry that momentum through. I mean, that's really what it comes down to is, momentum is great during the game. In a series, when it's every other night, yeah, I mean, maybe you get a little bit of that momentum, but what I was kind of looking at is those Ranger guys on the bench. They looked pretty deflated after that. They weren't just like, oh, okay, next game, on to the next one. They looked pretty deflated after that loss, or after that goal scored from Powie, and it kind of goes back to what you were saying. You look back at that Toronto series, game 6, halfway through that game, they got hot. They were behind. They came back, ended up winning that game in overtime, came back and played a game 7 that was exactly their style of hockey, shut them down, did their thing, and went on to sweep the Cats. And yeah, it was terrible that they had that 9 days off. Took them 2 games in New York. And maybe if they started here instead of in New York, maybe it's a split. Maybe they're able to get back and they get that game 2, get back to the game a little bit sooner in game 2, But it definitely looks to me like this team, if they come out and play the way they did in the last 70 minutes or so of hockey, 80 minutes, I think that they can carry that momentum over.
Let me go back to Thomas here. Tom, do you think they're going to have trouble, that being the Rangers, coming back from this loss and how it was in heartbreaking fashion, 41 seconds by Palat? It's going to be tough for this team to get up for game 4, right? You think possibly?
Yeah, and it's got to also be in the Rangers' head. They've only won 2 away games this whole playoffs, between Pittsburgh and to Carolina. So you got to imagine losing that first one. They're going to think, here goes another, where the Lightning have won and lost both at home and on the away games. So I think this bodes well for the Lightning. I think tomorrow they take it, make it 2-2 series, head back to the Rangers. I think they take game 5 in the Rangers too, and come back for game 6.
I think you're right. Harry, anything else?
Yeah, I'm going to make a real good point. By the way, guys, those are all really good observations. But I'm a realist. Okay. Tampa couldn't beat New York if their lives depended on it during the regular season. They got one victory, and it was in the playoffs. Momentum is a really good thing to carry. I didn't say that New York was a better team. It just seems like New York really knows how to play them. Let's remember one thing. They're still all up 2 games to 1. They've only got to win 2 more games. Tampa has to win 3. But I will say this. If Tampa wins their next game, they win this series, and they'll do it in 7. If New York wins this next game, it's all over. And that's the reality of it. It's such an uphill battle. It's not even funny, especially when one team has your number. Let's switch sports. Let's go back to football. The Buccaneers win the Super Bowl, but they can't beat the New Orleans Saints.
Right.
Okay?
Or the Rams.
Always win. Huh?
They beat them in the playoffs, though.
Well, they did beat them in the playoffs. That's the
when
thing.
it mattered.
When it mattered, they could not beat the Rams.
That's understandable. I was just using it as an example. They're Achilles heels in the New Orleans Saints. Look, I hope they beat the Islanders, but it depends on all in this game. They've got to win this game. That's it. They win this game, they are definitely going to have the momentum back. But hey, guys, don't get too excited about just one win. You can only get excited about you can only play what's in front of you.
Right.
That next game is so important. But hey, Peter, thanks a lot for taking my call. Great show tonight. Guys, keep up the good work, and I can't wait to hear what else you guys got to say.
All right, man. Appreciate you. There you go. Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire, 1252 Chicago Sports. I usually give him his walk-up music, but I didn't do that. I tell you what, really quick, we're getting, I don't know what's going on. All right, hold on a sec here. Let's go out to these comments. Really quick, huge win, big win, big from momentum. Derek again, unsung star Pally. Roger says Troy's not here because he won't acknowledge me. Again, I'll acknowledge you as the guy that said the Lightning were done. Let's go out to Christopher Cole. Hey, guys, Derek again. Biggest hurt was what Coop was concerned about, or biggest hurt was what Coop was concerned about is that Vazzy being hot or cooling off. Eric says, you mean the Rangers? Yes, he meant the Rangers. And Sarah with the claps there. And here he goes, yes, the Rangers I meant. Absolutely. So,
but he talked about you have to go by something that we swept the Penguins in 2016 in the regular season, and then they beat us in the ECF. So
remind me of that.
Regular season is regular season. Playoffs is a little different. We had those 9 days off. You can tell that the team came out cold. No Braden Point. I was listening to you talking with Lou earlier, and you guys addressed the no Braden Point. We went 11-7 in New York, went back to 12-6. because it seems like Cal Foot may be a little injured. And I believe we go 12-6 again tomorrow. And it's going to be a different Lightning team. You saw more shots, 51 shots on goal yesterday, compared to the last 2 games where they barely even had any shots. They realized what they needed to do. They were even asked about that. You saw them getting Corey Perry in front of the net. You saw them getting other players in front of the net. So they've learned, they've done their research. The 9 days off, that's done and over with. Now I think they believe this is game 2 of the series.
Yeah, game 2 of this, to me, it's game 2 of the series. The Lightning have the momentum. I think the Rangers, like, they were tired yesterday, guys. Gerard Gallant had some interesting comments today. He said he was unhappy with the Lightning's treatment of goaltender Igor Shesterkin. Of course, according to the fans of the Rangers, Igor is better. He said, I don't like it. I don't think it's a big part of it. And hopefully when we talk to the supervisor tomorrow, they'll take care of some of that because it wasn't right. He was talking about the Lightning's treatment of the goalie. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? To me, what is he talking about? He's played in the league. He knows that players are going to be in the crease. It's not like they're bumping him all around. I mean, make some sense of this, Shooter.
Can I take this one?
Yes.
All right, so let's review some things that happened in last night's game. The Lightning got 2 penalties for running into Shesterkin, the Rangers goalie. The second one was Riley Nash, who was playing last night, hasn't played an NHL game, I think, at least since March. So he's a little rusty, couldn't stop, runs into the goalie. If you watch it again, you can tell that he tried to avoid as much contact as he could, which, if you're trying to hurt the other goalie, you are leaning into falling into that goalie. So that was the second one. The first one was Corey Perry actually swinging his stick, trying to hit the puck. If you swing your stick and it's a follow through, there's no such thing as a high stick, which means you get hit in your head with somebody else's stick. So I wanted to just do a little recreation of last night because Igor, you know, we need to come up with a chant for tomorrow night about Igor's flopping around on the ice, because here's what happened last night. We've got Corey Perry's stick here, at least a mini stick. I have a helmet with a cage on. Now, most NHLers just have a visor, and they can get hit in the face with these sticks, and it happens a lot. You saw Cooch do it last night. Hit somebody, drew blood, 4-minute penalty. Right. A goalie always has protection over his entire face. A goalie also takes pucks 90 miles an hour right to this helmet, different kind of helmet, by the way, and keeps playing. There's no stoppage in play unless it goes out of play.
By the way, real quick, I know you're on a run, but Vasilevsky did just that. What, 2-3 minutes before? He intentionally stopped a slap shot with his head and like did a little soccer header out of play and went on playing like a boss. Back to your recreation, Sharon. Now let's see the difference between a puck straight to the head and what happened to Shesterkin. Let's see the difference here.
Don't mind my Bolts jersey. This is a Rangers jersey right now. Pretend. So Corey Perry's stick goes up, tries to hit the puck deflector or something. A little tap. Let me give you the side view so you can see how much contact happened.
No. Tap-a-roo.
That's it. So let me do full view, and here's what happened.
Tap-a-roo. Go to your home.
Oh.
Listen to this. Who is running the camera right now? Because
you don't want to know. It's the robots that are taking over the world.
It's the robots? Oh, wow.
Yes,
look at that.
Robot.
And that's it. He did the LeBron.
That's it. He's done.
That's great.
He's done. He was shot. Didn't you see? He got shot on the play.
He got shot.
He was shot dead.
2-minute penalty. I'm okay. We're going to be all right.
Here's the thing that gets me, too. Then they called it a slash. They didn't even call it a high stick. They called it a slash. And then all the Rangers fans are like, oh, the cross-check to the face. I'm like, are you serious? A cross-check? That's cross-checking? Come on now. So,
all right.
The memes were amazing today. The memes on the internet did not fail. And I love the fact that it wasn't just the Lightning fan base. It was all over the place. The NHL was getting in on it. All of the social media things that I follow on Twitter and Facebook had their memes going. It was amazing. So
because it wasn't the first time. He's been doing it all playoffs. He did it in game 1.
Someone did an actual montage of the entire series between Pittsburgh, Carolina, and here. And he did it a couple times in the first 2 series. And he's already done it twice now, or 3 times now, in this series because it happened once in New York when he had a huge flop. And
the Rays,
they didn't with Stamkos, and luckily he didn't get the call on that one.
The Rays have that yellow C for Wade Boggs' home run. I think we should have body outlines on the ice at Amalie for everywhere that Igor has died on the ice through these playoffs, because it surely looks like he's got to be carried off on a stretcher every time we see him. And I expect the Hurts to come back and pick him up. I mean, thank God it's ISO, keep him chilled, but come on.
Yeah, it's out of the LeBron playbook, guys.
Right. And faking an injury is a penalty.
It's embellishment.
It's considered embellishment. Trying to fake an injury to get a call is absolutely an embellishment. And if it's me, hey, we all saw. And if you were speaking about Gallant, I mean, he's going full Karen, wanting to speak to the supervisor. If I'm John Cooper, I'm right in line behind him in the supervisor's office. Fine, I'll go full Karen too. Let's talk about the flopperoos that we're seeing. He needs to be getting called for the embellishment. You want to send my guy to the box to protect him? That's fine. But you got to make a statement too about this embellishment, because it's getting out of control.
Well, I think Coop says, you know what, hit him again, because the next one they know he's flopped twice. They might not call it on us. They might give us the benefit of the doubt. Go ahead and hit them and see what happens.
Yeah, and I tell you right now, Cooper had this to say today. I don't think they could have called it any tighter. There were 3 penalties on goalie interference between both teams. This is a part of the game when you're being out in front of the net. Yes, it is a part of our game plan to knock him over. No, the first penalty, we were on a 4-on-3 power play, and we take ourselves off of it. Trust me, we're not trying to hit the goalie. I think we were more angry than maybe the Rangers were at that point. And even Gallant said it affected him more than Igor. So, I mean, I just think he's trying to draw attention to it, guys. So maybe there's some type of call tomorrow night to favor his team.
I mean, but he was already getting the calls. That's what I don't understand. Like, what? How you like? That's like saying I want to talk to the manager, and then you get your way, and then still being pissed off and be like, well, I want to talk to your manager, and like still writing a bad message, you know what I mean, and doing a bad review and being like, well, this manager helped me out, but I'm still unhappy.
Right.
Like that's what that's like.
She wants this meal for free, and she wants the next meal for free.
And her family too, every time the family comes in.
That's
it. Family and friends plan.
Plan, yeah. All right, so let's go back out to the comments here. We're on the Sports Web with Shooter and Stache. Thomas Schooley of We the Thunder podcast. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go out to Derek here. Keep crowding the net, make Igor uncomfortable. Ben says, Peter, why aren't you wearing your hockey gear tonight? Laugh out loud. Ben, thanks a lot. You know how it goes here on the Sports Web. You are guaranteed to miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Key is to shoot the puck. The more shots on goal, the better the odds to score. Of course, we always hear this on the radio broadcast from Phil Esposito. Shoot the puck, shoot the puck.
Oh, jeez, Kucherov. What are you doing?
He was in heaven on that radio broadcast. Still wanted them probably to shoot more. 2 of my favorite people, Peter and Thomas. Jessica, thank you very much. I'll fire the camera.
Wait till you see their OnlyFans.
Very good. Igor Flopper. Derek says Vazzy headed a puck in the night before that. I believe Smith did that for the Oilers. Sarah again. Igor's an idiot. I'm going to go ahead and give her that one. In fact, I'll give her the Daniel Bryan.
Yes! 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 Yes!
All right, Sarah coming strong to the mic tonight. It reminds me of the kids in the Christmas Story when the kid has all the snow gear and falls over in the snow and can't get back up. Laugh out loud. Ben Cornett. Yeah, it's just working the refs is what Gallant is trying to do. That's all. This happens with coaches in any sport where they feel like they're not getting their way, or they feel their team isn't getting any or enough of the calls, as we talked about that. The biggest key, in your opinion, to Game 4 coming up here? Shooter first, Stache, and then we'll go to you, Thomas. Shooter.
Let's see. So Game 4 is at home. I think the biggest thing. Well, here's what we need to do as fans. I've got the 3 Bs. I'm not going to write them all out for you, but number one,
you're like a telestrator tonight. You're like John Madden of hockey. Like you're just like you got Leave on there. You're doing demonstration. I mean, you moved up you guys have moved up in the world. By the way, I'm going to start calling you guys the Bally Boys, because I've seen you more on Bally's than any of the broadcasters. Amazing stuff, guys. Really proud.
Obviously, Peter didn't watch the show last Friday night from live after the watch party.
But the sad part, Peter, is he don't use this for our show. It's only reserved for your show.
Well, that's because if I mess up on Peter's show, it doesn't affect our show as much. But maybe coming soon to We the Thunder, the Blackboard.
I like it. I like it. I like it a lot.
All right. Believe, right? Because that's what we need to do as fans. Is there's been those moments of doubt. Every journey in the playoffs, every journey to win a Stanley Cup's different. Whether you win it 2 years in a row, 3 years in a row, this year is looking like it's going to be the hardest one by far for the Lightning, just because the matchups. Braden Point has been out, so you talk about all the playoff goals he's scored. We talked about last night, Alex Killorn scored 12 goals in the playoffs last year. He scored 0 this year. You got Victor Hedman, who I think hasn't scored a goal in 8 games. He was winning the Conn Smythe in 2020. So every year is going to be different. Hey, I would like to see them win a cup and be down in a series like they have a couple times this year. Then maybe we won't get called like Mickey Mouse or COVID Cup stuff. So starts with believing. Number 2, take out the leave here and be loud. If you are going to the stadium tomorrow night for Game 4, I know Thomas Schooley will be there. It needs to be loud. We need to take advantage of that home ice. And then finally, no matter what happens, win or lose, take out the leave. We should just all be grateful that we've been on these crazy long playoff runs and we've won back-to-back cups. Will 3 happen? I believe. But if it doesn't happen, even if it does happen, we need to be grateful for the crazy journey this team's brought us on.
Awesome. Good stuff. All right, Stache, follow that.
Well, thanks for stealing my thunder, because I'm the one that said, no matter what, I'm grateful. I'm the one that made that post like 4 days ago. So that's where it
What
starts
about the
with
other
me.
bees?
So, I got a couple. I got some bees for you right now. I got some bees. We'll talk about that.
F's and the rest of the alphabet,
It's green room material. It's green room material. But I do believe Peter Blake is actually talking about Game 4 specifically, not this all this metaphysical stuff. Now suddenly you're talking about Blackboard. Listen, we're talking about hockey here. Let's break down the actual game, the X's and O's, the nuts and bolts of it. It comes down to the Lightning doing what they've done, and that's possessing the puck and keeping it simple, believing in the process, trusting the process. If Gallant wants to go and cry and try to get more calls, you just got to play a little bit tighter of a game. That's what it comes down to. If they go out in front of the home crowd, do what they've done, play their system, and be patient and let the game come to them, they're going to win this game. The kid line they've got the matchups. That Killer and Cervelli line, yeah, I know we're calling for Killer to score more, but he's done a lot of intangible things that don't show up on the scoreboard, a lot like Andre Palat usually does. So the good thing is we saw the Stars come out in Game 2 or Game 3. We need the Stars to be back out in Game 4 right now. I don't really care about Killer. I don't really care. We need Stamkos. We need Kucherov. We need those Hedman. We need those 3 guys to really carry this team right here, right now. They need to step up. That's what I believe, because Vasi stepped up last game. He's going to keep doing what he's going to do. He looks warm again. Those 3 guys, I think, with Point being out, are the guys that need to lead the way here. And the matchups, and a Coop really too. He's got to stick to his guns. He's got to do his best to keep his matchups going the way they are. And I think that, that's what gives him the advantage here at home and in Game 4. The fans, the matchup, and they play their system. This is a win, and all tied going back to New York for Game 5.
Really quick, we'll get out to Thomas in a moment, but were you guys disappointed that there were a lot of Ranger fans there, or was that to be expected?
To be expected. Game 3, after going down 2-0, I can tell you most fans definitely wanted Game 4, so I would expect less Ranger fans tomorrow night. And Game 3, I think, was the throwaway game for some of the fans to try to recoup some of their money. You could get a good price for those seats for Game 3, but I think Game 4 you'll see a lot more Lightning fans there.
All right, biggest key, Thomas, to the Lightning's victory tomorrow night versus the Rangers.
I think you gotta ride the momentum. You're 2-time defending Cup champions. You're going against that kid line, as they say. I think you have to put some doubt in their mind now. They've kind of thrown everything they had in the last 3 games, and yeah, they've been kind of big scoring on the first 2 games, but I don't think they were really big wins, as you say. They weren't knockout wins. And I think last game was the dogfight, and it showed that the Lightning could outlast them. And so it's got to put some doubt in their head going into game 4. You go ahead and just step on their throat some more and take it, win game 4, and go back to New York.
I like it a lot. Now, we talked about Braden Point. Of course, he's ruled out for tomorrow night's game. Do you think at any point during this series he could play, Shooter?
It doesn't sound like it. Sounds like they're preparing for him to not be around for this round and not really committing on anything else. So I'd be prepared to play the entire rest of the way without Braden Point, and they know that they can win because they swept the stinking Panthers last round. So,
well, it's
I
kind of par for
agree
the
with
course now
Stache.
too,
It's
right?
got to be the superstars, and I think you also need to sprinkle in, especially for the away games, you got to get your Nick Pauls on the board, your killer. Somebody else is going to have to rise to the occasion to score a couple goals. So I'm waiting to see who that's going to be.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, though, it seemed to me, especially with now that they're rolling 12-6 and they've got Hagel, Sorelli, and Killer on the line, those guys were real close to breaking through last night. They were really close. They did a really good job matched up against this Zibanejad line, which that to me was the really killer line in the first 2 games. And they possessed the puck in the offensive zone a lot, below the goal line a lot. There were opportunities there. And I think that they're still not playing their best hockey. As we've talked about on the show, it's a dial, right? It's not a switch for this team. It's a dial. They're still at an 8. They can still crank it up to an 11. That's their tip top. And I think that we're going to probably see them at least a 9 to a 9.5 tomorrow for this game. And I don't think that the Rangers have seen the Lightning that high of a dial yet. So I will say, though, it's pretty funny. We talked about the broadcast team on ESPN earlier. It was pretty funny that Ferraro was giving that kid line some jabs. Did you guys hear that? He said one time that they needed to go take a nap, and then he said there was snack time for the kid line too.
Yep.
So they were getting handled pretty well last night. So, I mean, especially here in Tampa, we've got to take advantage of the matchups. And then really it comes down to stealing a game in New York, being able to ride the fact that Gallant has matchups there. Maybe he gets the kid line or that Zibanejad line out there in a better frame. They've got to be able to ride that. So they play their game, ride the momentum, believe, do all the great things that we've talked about here, get it back to 2. Then it's the best of 3. They've just got to find a way to steal one in New York and stay par for the course here home.
And I think there's a small possibility we'll see Point. The thing that intrigues me during this is that in previous years, minus the bubble, an injured player didn't travel with the team. We saw it years ago with Callahan. He stayed behind, skated on the home ice while they're on away. Point has gone on all these trips with them. He went on the first 2 games. I know that they said he's a big part in the locker room, and maybe they got that since Stamkos when he was in the bubble and he had those injuries and he stayed with them. So maybe that's why they're doing it, but that's the small chance. He's been on the ice the last 4 or 5 practices. So you might see him if there's a game 7, maybe an elimination game 6 where we are down. It might be a la Stamkos coming in for a series or something.
All right, let's go out to the comments here. We're on with Shooter and Stache, Thomas Schooley of We the Thunder podcast. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Killer needs to be a factor. Don't turn the puck over and keep pressure in the offensive zone. And I really think that not only Killer, but it also comes down to you're not turning over the puck, because if you do, you give those opportunities, those odd man advantages where, Hedman yesterday made a big time play on that 2-on-1 at the end of the day. So you're not turning over the puck because the Rangers will take advantage of those opportunities. Right, guys?
Yeah. 50 turnovers in the first 2 games. They averaged 6 a game in the regular season.
Yeah, that's key. I mean,
right?
It's the equalizer across all of sports. I mean, whether it's football, basketball, you talk about it all the time. For hockey, if you turn over the ball, the puck, or whatever else, you give the team an extra chance. They're going to take advantage of it, especially if they're good, if they're skilled like the Rangers are.
The only difference is there's only one Vasilevsky.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point.
Listen, one guy intentionally stops pucks with his head. The other guy flops around like a codfish on fish selling fish in the Bering Sea, right? These two goalies are not the same. You know, they're not the same. You could sit here and compare Russian and this and that. And Igor's not a bad goalie. He's the best goalie that the Lightning will face this playoffs, whether it ends now or it goes forward. This is by far the best, and probably in the last 2 or 3 seasons, to be honest. This is, except maybe for Price, but then the team didn't play as well in front of him as they could have. So, I mean, that's, you know, a little bit of a different thing. But this is probably the best goalie they played in the last 3 years on this run. So that's not taking anything away from him, but these two goalies are not the same. Not in my book. Not yet.
Not the same at all. Shooter, anything to say about that?
I feel like they are pretty similar, but I mean, Vasilevsky, I don't remember ever seeing him flop around on the ice. So he's a gamer. He's a competitor. He's not going to just give up this series. And, you know, he's going to want to make those New York fans regret ever chanting Igor is better. So they better watch out for Game 5 when he does come back up there and gets to play in front of them again. So, but no, I think the Lightning need to get back to what they've done to win games in the past, and that is adjusting to the team that they're playing. And it's kind of funny. We talked about it last night as the Rangers almost kind of took the blueprint of what the Lightning did to build their franchise, starting with the Russian goalie in net. And then also their style of play as well. So it's going to be a fun series. I'm glad we got the Rangers. I'm glad we've got some adversity. I'm glad it's not the same as the last 2 years, because it's going to make it even sweeter if they can make it 3 in a row.
Especially versus Ranger fans. I'm sorry. I've had some disagreements with those fans. I love New York fans in general. I get it. What I don't understand is how they say everything is great in New York and they're here. I never understood that. Like, if
the ones that live here are the worst, and it doesn't matter if it's Islander fan or Ranger fan or Met fan or Yankee. And no, it's you move here, and I don't mind if you root for your team, but it's the way that you still talk about it and you still put down where you live now. Oh, Tampa, it's okay, but it's no. I'm like, look, okay, you know. I don't know. Yeah, I've never had a problem. Someone was talking about after the game last night, they were kind of rude and they were giving it to some Ranger fans. And I'm like, look, man, I've been going to sporting events in Tampa Bay for 23, 24 years now, something like that. And I have zero sympathy between the Rangers, between the Yankees, between the Giants. Zero sympathy for any of those fans, because usually if you're a Rangers fan, you're also a Yankees fan and a Giants fan. You know what I mean? And after the last 2 years playing Islanders, it's not much better, to be honest with you. They're even sadder if you ask me. I mean, the Islanders, you know, at least they've been the last couple of years. They completely fell off. So I mean, it's another New York team in the Eastern Conference Finals for us, and it's just going to be even sweeter as a Tampa fan to go through another New York team to get to the finals.
It is, and then. You know, Knicks too. Knicks fan probably.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Knicks fan too. Yeah. And so basically the 4 most insufferable fan bases in American sports. Right.
There you
and that's
go.
saying something, because we all know Philadelphia has all 4 teams.
Well, what's worse? So. I can't really talk bad because my colleague there, Leo Haggerty, is a Philly guy. So I probably weren't going to say New York at this point, but you're exactly right about Eagles. And
although, Peter, all right, you brought up Leo. I got to ask you something and something to the guys.
Yes.
Because I didn't know if Leo was drunk at the beginning of the show when he said Stamkos is going to finish his career in Toronto.
Well,
there's a chance in hell that that's ever going to happen. Once they went with the other 91 in Tavares, there will never be another 91 in Toronto, let alone Steven Stamkos.
No, I think Stamkos stays here. I think a lot of people wanted Vincent Lecavalier to stay here, and he didn't, of course, got traded. And I think Leo's point was maybe the cap, you know, the Lightning look at the cap and they say, you know what, maybe this guy is not what he used to be, so you get rid of him. I don't see that happening.
He's had the best year of his career.
Yeah, best year, non-injury year since his very first injury. I mean, even in 2 years when his contract is up, Maroon's contract is up, they go on a 3-cup, a 4-cup run. You can pack it up. He's got 2 kids. You know, he's going to stay here in Tampa. There's no way Steven ever
We'll start taking
leaves.
Corey Perry money.
And I'll just call him Steve. There's no way.
I called him Steve.
There's no way he leaves the Tampa Bay. I was like,
Yeah.
is he doing bong hits on the air? What is he doing saying they're going to Toronto?
I love
like,
Leo. I got to defend him on it, though. I think he was just throwing it out there, but I agree with you on it. I absolutely agree. I don't think Stamkos is going anywhere. I don't think Kucherov is going anywhere. And the reason why is you have every opportunity almost every year to win a cup. With that being said, we talked about Andre Palat coming in. Do we assume this could be his last year with the Lightning, or could he take less money, a hometown discount here, Shooter, and come back and try to make another run for a cup?
No, it sure seems like Andre Palat is done after this playoff run because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. He's going to go make money. Like he performs when he needs to. You didn't hear much about him this whole second half of the season, and he didn't really play that well the whole second half of the season. But the guy just shows up when it's time to play, like he did last night. So he's going to get paid. He's going to go collect his money, and he's earned every penny of it. And he's not going to get paid here. And he's probably going to have a breakout season wherever he goes because he's going to get a great chance for more playing time, probably.
And you got to remember, Point's contract, his big contract, kicks in next year. Yeah. So that's the money that you would have spent on a Palat. It's going to be interesting. Yeah. Right. It's going to be interesting if they go after Nick Paul. I mean, who I think most Tampa fans would rather them go for than a Palat. Do we see a Cirelli gone? Do we see that they have Ruda? He's an unrestricted free agent, but basically you still have 6 other defense, plus you have the guys in the crunch. You have Palat and you have Paul. Those are the only ones that are UFAs. We have no RFAs this year. So I think maybe they go for a push for Nick Paul, especially because I think Nick Paul has been the story of the 2022 playoffs for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And we see every year there is that one player that you didn't expect. I think last year was more of a Ross Colton year. And I think this year is a Nick Paul year.
And my buddy Leo, I know you're kind of, hammering him there a little bit with the Stamkos. He had a question for Cooper yesterday. He said, look, you put Nick Paul in. He won the face-off battle. Of course, it comes down to winning face-offs. I love Nick Paul here, Stache, and I definitely think he's earned some money at this point. And I'll tell you, at the end of the day, they're going to have some decisions to make. I still think you guys may be right about Palat. It may be his last days in Tampa. But I tell you right now, Nick Paul, that may be a signing they may have to consider re-signing in the offseason.
Well, it's definitely going to be something you have to talk about. But you talk about Pally. That guy is he's making about $5 million right now for this team. Someone else is going to still pay him $5 million. He's going to, without a doubt, be the most experienced unrestricted free agent on the market next year, coming from a dynasty type of team. He's a guy that you can bring into a locker room. Everyone talks about how they jump at a chance to play on a line with him. He's always the third guy talked about by the media, but the first guy talked about in the locker room. So that guy is going to get paid. That's the only problem. He can't really take a deal because if he does, then even if he stays here for only like a 1-year deal even and on a low, then it devalues him going forward. So he's got to do what's best for him at this point. He's going to be gone. I think he's still going to make a solid $5 million somewhere else, if not even maybe a little bit more. Paul is an interesting conundrum because I believe the rumors were saying he was turning down like $3.75 or close to $4 million from the Senators. They couldn't get a deal done. That's why they traded him. Mm-hmm. So the Lightning still, after all the things are, numbers are crunched and Braden Point and all that, I think from what I know, and I'm no expert of the salary cap, just from what I, gather and do my little bit of research here in my own little lab, they're only going to have about $3.5-4 million to work with here.
Sure.
And the interesting thing about this is, Pally basically have to assume we can't pay him. But one of the other favorite players is 1 year left on his contract for only $4.3 million, and then he's a restricted free agent after that. That's Anthony Cirelli, and he's the only person on the roster that doesn't have some type of movement clause in his contract. So the Lightning can move him, and he can't say anything about it. So that's a guy right there as well, like Andre Palat, that everyone, maybe he doesn't score all the goals for the team, but that guy, him and Killer, I mean, Those two guys do work on the forecheck. They do work on the penalty kill. There's so much that those two guys do together in tandem that maybe they don't get enough credit for, but a lot of that's Anthony Cirelli. And people are waiting for him to break out. And to me, that's a guy that could break out because he isn't getting top line minutes here, and someone that could easily go and be a Verhaeghe or a Marchessault somewhere else if he is an actual top line center and goes and makes $4.5 million this year. Then as a restricted free agent, he bargains for a $6 or $7 million contract for 3.5 years. That's a guy, excuse me, that's still a valuable asset for the Lightning to be able to move. If you want to try and keep a guy like Nick Paul and then bring up some guys from the crunch, use whatever money you have left over to sign those guys or maintain their entry-level contracts, whatever it is that they would make a hit on your roster, like a Fortier or Alex Barré-Boulet or a couple of the other guys that are down there.
Herblex was one of there.
Exactly.
But something else that you and Lou hit on earlier in the show is the difference between the money here and the money in Canada. Ottawa's $3 million is Tampa's $1.5 million, $2 million. Right. Ryan's only Nick Paul's only making $1.3 million right now. So
it's only $875 to the Lightning's cap hit right now. So yeah,
right. So you pay him, you offer him $2 million, where a Canadian team still has to go $4 million to get that $2 million in Florida money. So I think we got the edge there. You're going to have almost your whole, whether it's ECF team, Stanley Cup team, you're going to have almost the full people coming back. Now, do they get rid of Cirelli? You have two other restricted free agents down the line with Sergachev and Chernak. Are they still going to go with the process? We've seen the ups and downs of Sergachev. I still don't believe that he's had his best hockey, but is Cooper done with that project? Chernak, I think, could be one of the guys of the future, so I don't really see them getting rid of him. But, is it one of those guys that they get rid of instead of Cirelli to save some money? Because I think Coop loves Cirelli-type guy that plays that defensive, that Selke kind of guy.
Yeah. Well, he's one of those guys that he's been with his whole career. Palat, Cirelli, like Johnson was a guy that just left this year that I know really hurt Coop in his heart. And in fact, to the point where he was thinking about Johnny in his press interview, as soon as Palat scored, he's like, I guarantee that Johnson was texting him. And lo and behold, there's a report that Johnson's there at home cheering. And as soon as he did, he grabs the phone. He's like, "That, you're my hero." Yes, there comes a time though, but it's not just those guys that were like a Verhaeghe or Marchessault that just couldn't quite fit in. They're gone. Now it's a point where we do have to kind of retool. We have to lose the Gords. We have to lose those Colemans and Gaudreaus that came in for just a little while. But how do we kind of reload? And we're going to have to get a little bit creative right now. And I do believe that if Stamkos is getting a little bit old, sure, he's got a high cap hit, but that dude is the captain. I mean, there are articles this season putting him up there with Yzerman and Messier as the greatest captain of all time. I agree with one of those. I don't know the other guy was one of the greatest. I think you guys will understand which one I'm talking about. That's just me. That's just me personally. Messier. But we're talking about Stamkos, one of the greatest all-time captains. So there's a difference. And again, one of his best offensive years ever. So that guy's still making his bread, deservedly so here. So you've got to look at these other guys that are kind of middle-level guys that are role players that are still have value at other teams. They're going to give you flexibility. And I think maybe a Nick Paul could stay here I think it's going to have to take at least $3 million. If you could do $3 million in 3 years, that gives him time to stay here and build some credibility and then build value somewhere else and go get his $5-7 million payday. You know what I mean? But that guy's definitely not going to sign a long-term contract here, no matter what. I will say that right now. Nick Paul isn't going to be a guy that comes here and stays here. I don't think. Or maybe he signs a 3-year deal and he's like everyone else and falls in love and they can't leave because hey, there's something in the water here, especially for the athletes. Let him move on Davis Island and live on the same street as the rest of the team and realize it doesn't happen like that on other franchises anywhere else. Maybe in all of sports, let alone in the NHL. And see how much he loves this team and how much, maybe just a $4 million a year contract is for him versus,
I think we throw in some extra perks though. I think the We the Thunder crew, we throw in like free car washes for the entire length of his contract in Tampa.
All
Just
right.
no strip joints. We know that didn't go well for the Panthers.
All right. We're taking over Peter's show. We're taking over Peter's show. Come on.
No,
Go, Pete.
that's okay. Hold the line here. Let's go ahead and go out to the phone lines. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the Evolution.
This is Curtis Glenn.
What's going on, buddy? Why did I not see your address? It didn't pop up. Curtis, welcome to the Evolution here with We the Thunder. What's up?
Y'all see how y'all treat black people on this show? What's up, brother?
What's up, man? How you feeling about this Lightning victory over the Rangers yesterday?
First of all, it's a must. It was a had to win.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that.
Yep.
And second of all, I mean, listen, this team, when we think that they're down and out, they always come back and show us.
Yep.
What a championship team is supposed to do. Okay. And, when we played Toronto, I was nervous against Toronto. I thought we were going down.
Yeah.
And we came back on Toronto, and then we beat the brakes off the Panthers. And, the Rangers got a young, good team, but, championship experience is championship experience. I mean,
to me, right there, that's the point.
And I don't want to get off subject, but it was no different than Golden State destroying Boston last night.
Correct. And here's the thing. If you get to a game 5, because to me, the Lightning right now have the momentum and the Rangers look like they're tired. Maybe it was just one game, but whatever else. You go to this series, the longer you go, and it goes back to what Leo was saying, the longer you go, the more of an advantage you have because these veterans have been there before. They've been in those moments. This young team has not been there. And then on top of it, let's just throw it out there. Vazzy in an elimination game is nearly unstoppable. He's just unstoppable.
Yep. I mean, here's the thing. I don't want to be the guy that talks bad because I'm a Bucs fan. I'm a Lightning fan. I'm sorry. I'm not a Rays fan.
That's okay.
Okay. I'm sorry. But here's the thing. To win a major championship is a great thing.
Sure.
To go back to back is damn near impossible. A three-peat is damn near unheard of.
Yeah.
And guess what? There is still a strong possibility of a three-peat.
Of course there is.
And these guys, I mean, listen, these guys, they played a lot of hockey in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot of hockey. They're tired. They're beat up. But like I said, that championship experience, they dig down deep and, they show us who they really are when it's needed the most. And I was truly impressed yesterday because, I was flipping back. I was watching 3 things at one time. I was watching Hell in a Cell, I was watching the basketball game, and I was watching the Lightning game all at the same time.
Cody Rhodes at the Tornpec Toro.
Oh, man.
Talk about gamers.
I'm telling you.
Surgery is right after the show went off the air. He went straight to surgery.
Sidetracked. You had to bring it up, though. Sorry.
You guys are wrestling fans just like I am. You're not sidetracking me. We were talking about that when we first. Shooter, are you a wrestling fan too?
No.
Only when I go to the Stache's house.
Okay. All right.
Listen, what? I'm going to say this. 90% of us at one point in time or another, we were huge wrestling fans. Mm-hmm. The problem is it's become so watered down.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Listen, here's the thing. And I know we're all I'm 37, I know some of us are older and some of us are whatever. But the thing about it is when the Attitude Era was in, everybody watched wrestling. It didn't matter who you were, it didn't matter how old you were, everybody loved it then.
Yep.
I was a WCW fan. Straight up. Old school.
Yes!
I grew up in Jacksonville, Panama City, that Southern Georgia, that out Atlanta broadcast. TBS was heavy in my household. Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express, Jim
Saturday
Cornette.
Night, 605. Dusty
yes.
Rhodes,
I
Ric
love
Flair.
Dusty. Oh, yeah. The American Dream. That WCW was my program, dude.
Yeah.
No, if you grew up in Florida, you had to do Gordon Soley in Florida wrestling. And I go way back because, this is where Bam Bam Bigelow came from. That's where Kevin Sullivan came from. The old Tampa Armory. This was a home of a lot of superstars.
I've been binge watching the Rock's show that they have on Peacock or whatever it is.
Yes, it's a good show, but by the way, it is not that accurate. In fact, if you look, because if you go to Jim Cornette, and Jim Cornette is a historian of wrestling, of everything.
Yes.
He pokes holes, and it's it's a great show. I love how it's done, but some of that stuff is not real.
Peter, here's the thing. We live in a day of age where you have to sell whatever you're giving people.
Correct. I agree.
You have to.
Sell the
it's
gimmick.
not like,
yes.
Back in the day before we had social media and the internet and stuff, to see behind the scenes was great. But nowadays, behind the scenes is not enough.
Yeah.
You have to sell it. You have to sell it.
Yes.
You have to sell it.
You have to Hollywood it up.
And it's interesting you bring that up because I moved back here to Tampa after doing my thing and roving around in my early 20s. I moved back here in like 2000 or so, like 2002, 2003. So even before social media was like a real big thing. And at that point, like I ended up running into, I didn't realize growing up that Tampa was such a big thing as far as like where the guys came from, or even that's where Terry Bollea was from. You know what I mean? So when I moved here, I started having encounters with guys left and right, guys I grew up just idolizing and like, oh my God. So then I ended up working for Terry, for Hulk Hogan on his property whenever they were doing Hogan Knows Best. I worked for a landscape lighting company that had his contract. So like before social media, that's the first time I actually met like a wrestler and then saw like behind the kayfabe and behind all of that, and I was listening to Bubba a lot at the time, and that's when him and Hogan were still like really good friends. So like as a kid that was all in.
What happened?
But like,
really
good
friends.
That grew up just like having in the military. That was our thing, dude. Once a month we had barbecues. We ordered pay-per-view, and like the kids were outside in our fake ring with our fake titles before the show. Like we're beating each other up, and then as soon as it's on, we're glued just like on the floor, like just. You know what I mean? Like that's how we grew up.
Before the show came on Sunday Night Heat, I was glued to Sunday Night Heat.
Yep.
I was glued to that.
You had Shotgun Saturday Night. I mean, you used to have that. I mean, you used to have so many wrestling shows.
Saturday Night Main Event. That was the first prime time wrestling show back in the day with King Kong Bundy, Big John Studd, Andre the Giant, all those. I mean, the tree
with the most.
The tree that Macho Man crashed into is literally 3 minutes from my house. It's right around the corner. And every time I pass it, I snap into a Slim Jim and say, "Oh my gosh!"
Oh yeah,
it's the only way to do it.
Hold on.
Boom, yeah, boom, yeah.
I'm close.
Wait a minute. You want attitude era? Hold on a sec. Hold on. Here's attitude.
Well, you dropped the ball.
And then you got
What is your name?
I told you it doesn't matter. It's the best. It's the best. Oh man! Well, thanks for coming and bringing the wrestling vibe. I love it.
Look at Scooter's just like I still believe.
Nice. He was like, I believe the league.
There's no B in wrestling.
Hey, I'd still watch wrestling if the Macho Man was still.
AEW is so good that Cody left his own promotion and came back to WWE. That's how good AEW is.
And I tell you right now, you need more matches that Cody's in, because what he showed last night, you can still have a legendary match with an injury. You don't have to have just talking on the mic or doing this or doing that. You can have a physical match even with an injury. So I think that's what that shows. And on top of it, I think his dad would be very proud of him. Curtis, go ahead and finish up because I got to get these guys out of here. Yes.
Well, first thing about last night is I loved Seth Rollins coming out with the Dusty Rhodes polka dots. What a dick.
One of the best dicks in CM Punk, that guy.
It really is. Yeah. That's pretty good.
Sapphire was rolling in her grave.
Oh yeah.
My story is I worked for GameStop for 8 years.
Okay.
And, my boss, he was best friends with Jimmy Hart and the Nasty Boys.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
What's the guy with the blonde hair from the
Knobs.
Knobs, he's a local boy.
Knobs and Hogan were fucking buddies. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was Bubba and Hogan.
Well, Bubba, Knobs was like
Knobs was the videographer,
cameraman,
right. Sorry, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, Knobs literally lived around the corner from GameStop. So this guy every time we would have a midnight release on anything, we would see this guy every time. And he was always in character. I don't care. He was always in character.
Isn't that the best though?
And it was the funniest thing.
Yes.
I could not. Every time he'd come in, I'd be in tears because it was just the funniest thing. And then we had a grand opening from the store, and Jimmy Hart came out there with his megaphone. Oh my God!
Give me your best. Give me your best, Jimmy Hart. Who can do it with Jimmy Hart? Yeah, baby. Oh, baby.
No, not anymore.
I can't.
I'm too baritone over here.
I can't even.
The funny part is Knobs now lives under the bridge near the old GameStop. After he put his GoFundMe out there for his surgery that Hogan gave him $1,000 for.
Damn.
Wow.
Listen, that's funny though, because it's truly amazing for any type of wrestling fan growing up to live in this area. Like you bring up Jimmy Hart, we just get our oil change at the same place. Like odds were that I'd see him at least once a month or like every other month getting our oil change because we have like the same same schedule or whatever in West Chase. When Hogan had Hogan's the beach or whatever it was, Hogan's Beach. My buddy worked at the hotel next door that was a part of it, and him and Jimmy became like best friends. So like I would go hang out with Jimmy all the time up there. Like
nice.
I'm not trying to like one up anybody's stories. I'm just saying like that's what's cool about living here as a wrestling fan. Is that I mean I used to do circuit workouts with Christian at the same
is Christian one of the most let me ask you guys this, and Shooter, you can go ahead and chime in if you want. Is Christian
sit back and believe, Shooter?
He's a peep. He's a peep.
Is Christian one of the most underrated superstars out there?
Don't ask me because I'm a fucking peep, and absolutely the answer is 100%. I love Edge, but I'm a peep. I'm a peep when I believe it. And yes, Christian was one of the most underrated guys, and every time he should have got a push, they went and found the new flavor of the week and didn't give him his due justice. I saw something to bring up ECW, and I mean his run in ECW is one of the best runs that I remember. You know,
well,
but he's got to give that. He's got to give that to Gangrel. I mean, it was Gangrel that brought them into this era and introduced them. Yeah, it was the Brood and brought them into wrestling.
That's true.
And now look at Edge and Christian on their own. I don't think AEW's using them the way they should be using him, but I definitely think he's underrated for who he is and what he can accomplish.
And
but
now you got Edge, who's in WWE, who kind of has a faction like the Brood, but you're exactly right. I think Christian's not being necessarily. I think everybody signs with AEW, and it's almost like WCW all over again. They do a better job with booking and stuff. It's not a joke. Great wrestling matches, but I feel like they're signing so many guys at the end of the day that eventually they may be missing out on their own guys.
I have one question. I want to let all you guys go because I know you guys have things to do.
Sure.
But my question for you is here's this. As long as you guys have been watching WrestleMania, what is one of your favorite WrestleMania matches all time?
Oh man.
I mean,
very hard question.
I mean, no, it's not really that hard, and I'll tell you why. Because I think the Undertaker matches with Shawn Michaels, the two, and then the Undertaker matches with Triple H because of the storytelling. Maybe it wasn't the greatest matches of all time as two older guys, but they were giving it all they got, and they were selling the gimmick. So those are mine. And then, of course, I think you got to go to Hogan and The Rock, right? I mean, Hogan is a villain at that point. He's in Toronto. That's when Hulkamania comes back. Everybody is booing The Rock at that point. Then The Rock goes heel again. Not the best match, but I think it was cool to see, kind of like the equivalent of Babe Ruth versus Hank Aaron, right? I mean, to me, that was a good moment.
No, Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron has to be Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan and the big old body slam, because that is what made WrestleMania on the map. If it was not for that WrestleMania, the one that had all the big megastars, you had the Macho Man, you had King Kong Bundy, you had Big John Studd, you had Mr. Fuji out there with Axe and Smash, Demolition, and Road Warriors,
bro. LOD,
yeah,
LOD and Demolition, one of the greatest tag team feuds of all time, bro.
You know, and then you had the times with Earthquake and you had Yokozuna. I mean, you had all those, and I thought then it started coming out, and when it was the fake-ish, and I thought that's when The Rock and stuff like that. So,
right, we got y'all too. We got one more person, and then I'm gonna give you mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta go back a little bit after that, but like the Hogan Ultimate Warrior kind of like that was
Mega
for
Powers.
me as a kid. It was just the Mega Powers, that whole, and it wasn't necessarily the match. It was that WrestleMania, that entire WrestleMania. Like, because as a kid, that was a pinnacle of like me finally becoming like a super fan. And then after that, it was like we watched every single pay-per-view. But that WrestleMania was what really cemented it for me for becoming more of a WWF fan, like, or at least those characters. You know, later on, I still like WCW was big in our household, but that WrestleMania kind of imprinted on me how big of a spectacle and how emotionally invested I could actually finally be in these characters I was seeing on TV.
All right, Shooter. Hold on.
I love all you guys.
Shooter?
I love all you guys' answers. Mine is probably the original TLC match.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that was definitely good. With the Hardys.
That was probably one of the greatest matches I've ever watched in WrestleMania history.
That's a good one. That's definitely
the
a good
Hardys, Edge and Christian. Who was the third?
What do you mean, the Dudley Boys, dude?
The
Dudleys.
Get the table.
Get the tables.
That was one of the greatest matches I've ever watched in my life.
What's Shooter's like, what am I doing? What am I at this show?
Why am I still here?
What's going on here?
What's going on?
What is going on here? Where's your
Well, you know, it kind of brings us full circle to Igor and his flopping. You know, it's just like some of the wrestlers.
He could take a bump with the best of them in WWE.
Right.
Let me tell you, right? Like I
Listen,
got a bump. It looked like
it was just the pure carnage of that original TLC match.
No, you're totally right, dude.
It was
it was a spectacle.
Unseen.
It was a spectacle.
It was
I mean,
you've never seen before.
Yeah, you talk about that ladder match with Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon, and that was something that like everyone's jaw was on the floor. You remember the first time you saw that, right? And then you're like, nothing could be more insane in all wrestling. Because I mean, I remember seeing like the multiple. You guys remember like the multiple level cages with the obvious Freebirds and all that shit, and they had to go from one to the other. Like that was insane to me, right? Which, by the way, even when they brought the network and stuff, you couldn't go back and find that footage. Like, I don't know what happened to it, but like even in the archives, I couldn't find those pay-per-views of those matches.
Wasn't it called the 3 stages of hell?
Yes, yes. And then they had to like go to the, like those like that stuff was insane to me as a kid, right? But then the ladder match is like, whoa, we don't need these crazy cages. We don't need that defined. We need 2 dudes and a ladder, and that's insane, right?
That's it.
Then they're like, nah. How about 6 dudes and like 60 ladders, all of different sizes, and literally nobody gives a flying beep about their own well-being or anybody else really for that matter.
Well,
it's all about the fan.
Here's the thing. They all bought something to the table. The Hardys bought the ladders.
Yeah.
Edge and Christian bought the chairs, and the Dudleys bought the tables.
Yeah, it was such great writing. It was perfect. The concerto, the tables, the ladders, you're right. And by the way, the concerto, talk about Edge and Christian, I still think the concerto is one of the wittiest, coolest, most deadly finishing tag team moves of all time.
Well, you can't have it. Besides that, you have 3D with the Dudley Boys.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty
T-Bone,
insane.
get the table.
How many broken tables? How many broken tables?
Plenty, my
50.
friend. I'll tell you what. Let me give you the
All right,
Ric
guys.
Flair. Woo! Appreciate the call as always, Curtis. Thanks a lot.
Can I share my WrestleMania moment?
Go ahead, Shooter.
Please.
So I must have been watching when the Stache was watching, because I remember Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan. I was definitely a Hulkamaniac, but I won't go with that one. I'll go with he fought Macho Man over Elizabeth, and nobody messes with Elizabeth, right? So I remember that one, but I want to say, if you want me to watch wrestling again every week, let's bring in Big Rig Patty Maroon after he retires, and I'm back. I'm back on the wrestling bandwagon.
We'll do
Him
it.
and Gronk. Get him and Gronk in there together.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you my favorite promo of all time.
All right.
Oh, here we go.
The Acolyte Protection Agency.
Oh.
Sorry about your damn luck.
They then they go out. Yeah, I'll tell you right now, MJF's
damn
night. Wow. Wow, what a great promo. All right, Curtis.
Well, Tony Khan, Mark. Yeah, that was a good promo there.
Fire me, you effing Mark. And that's what he
Yeah.
said to his owner. It's like, there's no way this is real. And I was like, this is a great promo, but this is definitely a work. This is not a shoot.
And then CM Punk to come out there from one pipe bomb to another pipe bomb. Once it goes off the air, CM Punk comes out. He's limping around because he broke his foot. And then you see all of a sudden him go running the other way. And it's like, come on. You know.
I know I have to go, but I got to ask one more question.
Yes.
How legendary was that original Goldberg streak?
It was legendary because you never seen it before. But for me, I feel like
it was tainted. I think at that point, the writing.
It got old.
It got old. Like everything. I love WCW, but it got old. They didn't know what to do with it. You know, the NWO got old.
The shark to that point, right? I think that was the point where that franchise had jumped. Sorry, that production had jumped the shark at that point.
Sure.
Well, I will say this: I never really cared for Eric Bischoff on TV, but he was a genius. He really was.
Well,
he
to a certain degree, taking
He
other
also bankrupt you.
right
until he gave all the talent the control.
Yeah.
Well, he gave Vince
up
the control.
Until then.
And of course, Vince probably fired Vince Russo to go and ruin WCW. I still think that's possible because ever since Russo joined them, that was everything.
That's right. It was Russo. That's right. My bad. I get those two confused because they're both fucking weasels, really, in the end. So let's be honest, right?
Hey, that and when DX rolled up on WCW with the tank, that was great.
Well, that was great. Then that was the heyday of the Monday Night
Wars.
All right. Good stuff, my friend. Thanks a lot for your call. Appreciate you. Let me go ahead and give him the replay right there. Let's read these comments and we'll get you out of here for the night. Thanks a lot for your time once again for coming on. Yes.
One wrestling thing there, Peter, that's in the comments.
Sure.
The Von Erichs versus the Freebirds. There was no better rivalry ever than watching. It didn't matter which Freebirds you put out there, whether you had Terry Bam Bam Bigelow, Gordon Roberts,
Johnny Garvin.
Michael P.S. Hayes was definitely the Freebirds. And then the Von Erichs, Kerry Von Erich, Mike Von Erich, Kevin Von Erich.
That was the rivalry that I was talking about, that they were in those like 3 stages of hell thing, like, right? They were in those big cage matches together.
Yeah,
right?
and then
like,
you had the Barry Windham.
Not Barry Windham. The double monkey fucking matches too, like the 2 rings and like the monkey, like, dude, those.
It's crazy.
Dude, talk about the Attitude Era was insane, and like modern, like, dude, they used to do some crazy stuff
that,
back in the 80s, man.
That was more the Texas wrestling, because that's where you had a Blackjack Mulligan. That's where you had Abdullah the Butcher. I mean, they would just be bleeding everywhere.
Pause real quick, Thomas Scully. I think we just found a new show that you and I got to do, because I did not really know you were this deep in WWE wrestling lore. Like, not just WWE, like wrestling lore.
We do a segment on Wednesday nights with former XPW announcer, XM Sirius host Mark Mancini. We do Turnbuckle Talk with him and his. Actually, let's go out to the phone lines here. Let's see what Ed wants. Ed from Palm Harbor, welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with Shooter and Stache, the Thunder Podcast.
Talk about something the Shooter wants to talk about. Sorry.
Okay, so I have met Hulk Hogan a couple of times in my life.
Okay.
The first time I was working at a restaurant in the Tyrone area called Grisante's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was back in the maybe late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, in the heyday.
And, he came in there and he sat at my table, and something wasn't cooked right for him, and he went outrageously pissed off at me. I thought he was going to kill me. I got scared. I ran and went and got the manager. The manager came out there and he calmed him down.
Wow.
6-inch pythons, brother.
Yeah, no, he is
this
a dude.
medium well?
My mom waited on him also. My mom waited on him, and he looked at his spoon and said he could not see himself in the spoon, and required her to go back and get a new one that he would be able to see himself in the spoon. And I've heard from several different servers, he's a douche to be a waiter for.
Yeah, I've heard some of the same stories. Kind of like Warren Sapp. I always tell this story. The first time I met Warren Sapp, I'm going out on the field for my radio station. I wasn't paying attention at the time. I looked at this guy. I said, "Hey, have they let the media out?" He says, "Who do I effing? Do I look like I effing work here?" And I said, "No, you look like Warren Sapp. Actually, nice to meet you. I'm Peter Blake. Yeah, Do I look like I effing work here?" I was like, "Nah, we kind of established that now. I'm just gonna go off to the field now. Have a great day, Warren Sapp." So, yeah.
Well, Warren, my thing with Warren Sapp was I went to a golfing event when the Ravens were here over at MacDill Air Force Base. The Bucs hosted this golfing event with all these football players, and it was back when JJ Stokes was playing and Mike Allstott and everything. And literally Sapp was doing a horrible thing. He threw his golf clubs on the ground, gave two birds up, and left in the middle of the whole golfing tournament.
That's why I don't play golf either.
I remember that.
Yeah, he was like, "I'm done." He was doing really bad, and I think he was embarrassed because they were hosting it, and it was Allstott, him, Brad Johnson at the time, and it just was bad.
Guess who's never had a run-in with Warren Sapp because I stay as far away as I possibly can.
But you did have a run-in with Joe McCoy on Twitter. Twitter feud with Joe
What
McCoy.
was that about? Gerald McCoy, really quick. Hold on, Ed. What was that about, Shooter?
When Gerald McCoy got mad at me on Twitter. I mean, who has Gerald McCoy not got mad at on Twitter? That's the real question. No, I commented. He commented something about not being like a all-pro or first team or whatever it was at the end of the season. And I commented something about winning football games or making the playoffs first. And he didn't like that. He responded
Shooter's
to me.
being coy right now. Basically, he said some fan bases care more about championships than individual accolades. And Joe McCoy did not like that very much.
Well,
he started talking about how he played injured and how he did all this and about how great he was, and yet and at the time we were actually doing our own We were actually doing our own Bucs podcast, or an NFL podcast actually at the time, and we'd done some animations as well, kind of at the entire Bucs team's expense. Gerald McCoy had been part of those as well. They had gotten kind of popular on social media, and then Shooter made that comment, and then Gerald McCoy dropped some F-bombs on him, said he
called me dumb.
He said, "You're dumb, you're not shit."
I would like to. Can I formally apologize? I'm sorry for making that comment, Gerald McCoy.
Sorry, he hurt your feelings.
I was wrong.
Shooter, he just needs to believe.
Right, believe, and of course, Sue comes in 1 year, makes more of an impact in his career than McCoy's made in his whole career with the Bucs.
What do you know? What do you know?
All right, Ed, go ahead.
All right, buddy.
Yeah, fast forward 25 years, and I run into Hulk Hogan again, and this time I was working security across the street in St. Key, where he was living on his own without his wife when he was separated from his wife, and he walks by there, and he's got his daughter Brooke with him, by the way. She's absolutely smoking hot. I was just trying not to drop my...
Be careful, brother.
Drop my...
She hit on me.
Cold, brother.
Oh, she hit on me.
Hey, have you seen anybody keying my truck? Because his truck was parked across the street, and I could see his truck from where my guard shack was.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, because somebody came by there and keyed my truck. And he goes, did you see anybody around my truck? And I said, no, I didn't, but I'll keep an eye out. And he told me to contact his security if I saw anybody around his truck.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So mystery there. So he's much nicer this time then.
Yeah, he was nicer. Yeah, because
Okay.
he was trying to get
That's
information at it.
Well, there you go. Well, at
Well,
least
the best story I have about Hogan is when I was actually there working on his property. I was like 23 3, I think, at the time, pretty close to that. And at that Bel Air property, they had like a pull-in driveway circular, and right in the middle, they had a palm tree. And in the industry, there's like thing we have an uplight or a downlight. It's not that hard. So an uplight is from the ground, it shoots up. A downlight, it's in the tree and it shoots down. So this one palm tree had a light shooting up and a light shooting down. I was fixing the light that was shooting down. It's on my ladder. It happened to be a fiberglass ladder because we dealt with electricity, so it's non-conductive, but it's an American flag pattern on it, like a fiberglass, like Stars and Stripes. Brooke, at the time, I think she's 16, probably 15, 16, comes out of the house with her little friend, and they just like stop and they're like, "Oh, look, hi, look at you! Oh, I like your ladder. What are you fixing our light?" And they're just like. Drip, like just seriously, and I'm like, and at this point it's like June or something like that. I've got my as you see, I don't wear sleeves a lot in the summertime.
Sure,
it's not a new trend. It's a lifelong trend since I've lived in Florida. So I'm there. I'm like, no. I literally just put my tools in my little belt, my tool belt, get down from the ladder, and walk away. I didn't say a shit. I did not look at them. I didn't acknowledge them. They came outside. I walked away. The next day, I'm working on the property. And I'm in the backside of the house, and there's another palm tree with a downlight, and I'm working on that. Suddenly, here comes the Hulkster walking around the corner, and he looks right at me. He's like, "Hey, brother, I don't know if you realize, but right up there in that window, that's my bedroom. And Linda's getting ready to take a shower, man. And you're right about that level. I wouldn't want you to peek in that window accidentally, see something you don't want to see, and fall off of that ladder, hurt yourself, brother. I got a big mess in my hand. So if you can do me a favor, find something else to do for a couple hours, I'd really appreciate it, brother. Is that cool, man? All right, man. Thanks, brother. Thanks." I'm like, and I'm standing here like, of course, officer. I don't want to be up in a tree and see your wife naked, and then you have to come and handle some business. I mean, I know it's later in your career, but you still got at least 36-inch pythons. I don't know if they're over, but there's still some big pythons that you got there.
Are you sure he didn't want you to see her and maybe invite you inside?
Listen, there was also a little, I'm not going to lie, I was only like 20-something years old at the time, right? Now that I'm a little bit older and wiser, and I've had a few other jobs in the Tampa Bay area, maybe looking back, there might have been a little bit more innuendo that was lost on a young 23-year-old Stache still trying to find his way in the world, Although I was also a pool mechanic, and I knew better to stay away from the older ladies in South Tampa that offered you lemonade or iced tea. You always said no. Always say no.
Always say no.
Officially, always say no.
Yeah, iced tea and Tang, both of them.
But yeah, so that's my number one hoaxer story. Is when he told me he don't want to take a eyeful of naked Linda. And please get down from that letter, brother.
I put the link in the chat. We put Hulk Hogan in an animation once.
Yes,
that's awesome.
He broke up a manatee orgy.
That's
true story. I mean,
the manatee orgy is a true story. Hulk Hogan breaking it up is not that we know of.
There may be a little bit of creative license involved.
Peter's never going to ask us to ever come back again.
Not at all. I love you guys on here. You guys are more than welcome to come on here.
The rails.
Whatever else. This is awesome.
You should have seen us on Friday, Pete. You should have seen us last Friday.
I should have watched last Friday, but
no, you shouldn't have. I had to mute them a couple times just so that because they were doing it live from Downtown Tavern, and
they 12:45 tea time on Friday. Went and played golf with a new buddy of mine for the first time. Had to cut it short on the 16th so we could get back in time to get downtown for the bar crawl before the game. Then went to the watch party and then did the show live from District Tavern. Me and Shooter from one camera.
Shooter's trying to give his credit card to some random female because Shooter thought she was collecting the bill money, and then
turns out he was just trying to solicit somebody.
Then she looked like she worked there. Listen, they're already talking about.
She looked like she was working, and he was trying to pay her.
This is not a Deshaun Watson massage situation to bring it full circle to when we came on. This is not that.
He was looking for. I don't know. He might have been looking for a handout.
I was like, you see my podcast?
and then they asked this other female what
podcast.
They asked another female what she thought of it, and she's like, the puck didn't go in the hole.
Well, things change. Things change, Charlene.
This is how I sat watching because it was just a train wreck unfolding the whole time.
And by the way, you could go find that. If you go to Peter and Stache, if you look for We the Thunder, we have all of our content in archive, in memoriam, in eternity, unedited. Really, truly, like it's barely like Shooter maybe tightens it up here and there. We don't cut content, that's for sure. We're raw, we're live, and that's unapologetic.
That would mean we would have to rewatch it again, and none of us do that.
I want to know when the animation is coming back again.
I hope this summer.
Yeah, we're talking about stuff this summer. Yep, we have some ideas.
Gotta win another Stanley Cup first.
All right,
and then I'll have some spare time.
I want in.
Listen, you can only dump on the Rays for so long. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, you can always dump on the Rays.
Well, no. All the Rays videos were about them moving to Montreal, and they gave up that. So I think it's
now you got Rays up, but gaze down.
Ooh. Keep your eyes down. And we also might be looking for a new host next season for We the Thunder. Thomas Cooley just informed me off the air that he might be leaving the show after this. Just kidding.
No, I've got a lot of things to say about those 5 players, and that was just ridiculous. What a bad, with all the bad negativity already on. I don't blame them, but this should have been discussed in the clubhouse way before, and maybe not announced. Here's the 5 players, and you know what? We're going to allow one spokesman to come out and speak for them. Let them each talk, and maybe this should have been behind the scenes thing.
Well, this shows you compare the Rays to the Bucs or the Lightning, and we talked all about the Lightning tonight. That's
There's
the
no
difference.
solidarity.
That's the difference.
There's no solidarity.
No, none at all. There's no organization at all. It's one guy, and he's making all the decisions, and it's
and they're bad. And they're bad decisions.
Yes, they are. They're bad PR decisions.
Consistently, historically bad. Yes.
Fire the PR guy. He's terrible.
Everybody. They except for the players.
Right.
Fire everybody.
And the manager.
Clean them up. Yeah. Well, right. Right. Yeah.
And get rid of
guys that wear that dumbass uniform. Right. Sorry. That's not a dumbass for the players to wear, but it's whatever.
Right.
I mean, I get it. He's in the dugout. It makes sense. It'd be weird if he was wearing a suit in the dugout, but it's still weird he kind of wears what the players wear too, right?
Right.
Like, what's more weird? The fact that he dresses like somebody that should be playing the game but doesn't, or the fact that he's wearing a suit when all these guys are out there just like basically wearing like pajamas.
Well, remember back in the day, sometimes those coaches did play. So that's where it came from.
That's why the history comes from. Right? But that's why it looks weird, but it's just Anyways, I digress. Fire everybody except for the guys in the dugout. All right, come on.
What else, Ed? What do you think?
So also I had a running with Warren Sapp too.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Lucky you.
My 11-year-old daughter cried.
Oh, jeez.
And
Not shocking.
He's just a complete jerk.
He made all of his 11-year-old daughters cry.
Yeah, he does. I mean, that's what he's known for.
I sent her over a big mistake in parenting on my part. I thought he was going to be a nice guy, but he's not. And to a kid especially, is I told her we were at a restaurant. And I saw him over there eating with Booger McFarland. I said, go over there and ask them for their autograph. So she walked up to Booger first, and he's just like, went ahead and signed off on it.
Oh, yeah.
And then she walked over to Warren, and he just went off.
He's like, what do I look like? I work here?
Yes.
Don't you effing know I'm trying to eat? And he used the B word, too, on my daughter. And I was doing everything I could
Believe
myself. I wanted to
Did you say believe?
Believe.
I would be the one.
We got jokes on this show. You guys are on it. You guys are on fire. Yeah. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what, man. That sucks to you guys. Everyone has a shitty story about Warren Sapp, and yet he comes and plays a martyr in this fan base all the time, right? oh, no one ever respected me. Look what I give. What I did. Blah 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 blah. Dude, everyone has it. Like that's the one thing about football. It's like everyone has their little charity, especially back in that day, right? They had like the corner, like everyone had their own little like kids that they brought, and they gave out so many tickets. They didn't do that. The Buccaneers did it, and they were just like, okay, your name's going to be in this section, your name's going to be in that section, and that's good marketing. That's good PR, right? That's a good way to do it. But Sapp was never the guy that was like, hey, I want to go see the children in my section. Okay,
You never.
all the other guys did.
You never sat in Sapp's little a-hole section?
Oh, the A-train side. Is that what the A-train little A-hole? No, because it was all his kids that were in that section.
True. He made up for it in the long run. He started paying women off the air. Remember when he got off the field, he started paying women for services. So there was a chance there. Just
yes. He embraced Tampa.
Illegal,
even though he doesn't believe in Tampa embraced Tampa. You know what though? We'll go back to. I'll tell you what now. Of all the people I've met, as far as athletic celebrities in our market, I'll go to the most positive experience I ever had, and that was one Mr. Tony Dungy.
Oh, absolutely. I've interviewed him twice. I interviewed him at a bookstore in Clearwater.
Borders.
It was.
That's where my wife and I met.
Opening there. I interviewed him in front of 400 people.
My wife and I met at that store. She used to be the assistant manager of that store.
Nice, small world. And then I went out again a couple years later. I think it was about 5 or 6 years later, and interviewed him again on Bucs Report. So
yeah,
he's nice both times.
That same lighting company that I met Mr. Taylor, aka Hulk Hogan, through also had the contract for Tony Dungy's house, and it was right after the tragedy with his son, like maybe 2 months, literally like 2 months afterwards, and we spent about 2.5 days on his property in Avila, by the way. Oh, what an amazing place. But anyways, and at the end of that, he came out, introduced himself to our supervisor, and then made sure he came and shook the hand of each one of us that worked on his property for those 2 days. Took the time, 2 to 3 minutes at least, for each one of us. Like it was like meeting the president, dude. You know what I mean? That's what I felt like. Like it was that he like made each one of us feel like not just special, like just as like a human being that we were seeing. We weren't just these guys coming out on this $1 million property being servants or whatever else. You know what I mean? He saw us as like, you guys are guys that are hardworking and to do a job, and it doesn't just make my home look a little bit better. It means something to me that you take time and like that your job is my, you know what I mean? Does something for me. And like, and you had just it was just amazing to me that in the midst of the tragedy that he, like, I can't even imagine, and the way it all went down, you know what I mean? I think we all know how that all happened. I want to rehash it, but like, it was just amazing that he took the time out of his day and his busy schedule too, because he was still like going around and speaking a lot at that point about his son and like trying to advocate a lot, and he took the time to come out, and there was 5 of us. Took 30 minutes to spend with all of them.
You can tell he was such a great guy because look at the douches that he had on the team with a Warren Sapp, with a Keyshawn Johnson, with Chidi Ahana too, who's just the biggest douche as Warren Sapp. But yet you didn't really see that. I mean, you saw Warren Sapp get over the players and stuff like that, but there wasn't that much outside PR because you had Tony Dungy, always the face of the franchise. So, you know, you hear nothing but good stories. And then Tony Dungy was at the Lightning game last round during the Florida Panthers, and the place gave him a huge ovation when they put him up on the Jumbotron. So it was really great that Tony was back in town.
I got to be honest, not to ruin a beautiful story, Stache, but I thought you were going to say, yeah, Tony Dungy came out. He said, you know, hi, thank you to everyone, put his hand on my shoulder and said, my wife's showering up there. To see what you're
All right, Ed,
you got to get us out of here, Pete. You got to get us out of here. Come on.
Oh, this is great.
Move on, but one last thing. Speaking of Chidi Ahana,
yes.
Didn't you have him on your show?
I did. I did have him. They were talking about putting a boxing match together with the previous platform I was with, which was NSPN. It never happened. I think there's a lot of people out there that like to see
That's right. I remember
media
that.
on it too.
Yeah.
Box Warren Sapp, and even
Yep.
he didn't have anything to say good about him. I don't think there's been ever a person I've met in Tampa Bay sports history that's had anything positive to say about Warren Sapp besides his play on the field. That's about it. Everybody else has had their bad stories. But yes, you remember that. We interviewed him, and it seemed like it was going to happen, and it never happened. But I like to see it. I like to see Chidi Ahana fight Warren Sapp.
I like to see them punch each other in the face and pretend I was the one punching both of them in the face simultaneously.
Seth does have one big cheerleader in Tampa, and that's Mike Calta. They are really good friends, and he's constantly on his show.
Ringing endorsement. Ringing. I'm sorry.
I like you, Warren Sapp.
You like Warren Sapp?
I'll have a beer with Warren Sapp anytime.
He's the greatest. I think he's the greatest three technique of all time. I think he's one of the greatest Tampa Bay Buccaneers of all time. But as far as a person that I'm going to sit down and talk to, unless I got to interview him, no.
Huge. That's bottom of my list for sure.
Yeah. Not the most engaging personality, only when he wants something at the end of the day. Good stuff, Ed. Thanks a lot for the call. Appreciate you. Don't be a stranger, my friend, all right?
All right, man.
All right, good stuff. Let's go out to these comments. We're not done with you guys yet. Let's go out to Derek Yates. Killer needs to be a factor. Don't turn the puck over. Keep pressure in the offensive zone. Derek,
That's kind of what he does.
Believe 3, the Thunder, Christopher Cole. Rangers have been getting most of the calls. That's Christopher. I don't know about that, but I think, a lot of fans look at it that way. I don't think they'd be getting.
I endorse this next one.
Don't throw stuff onto the ice. What was that all about?
She's probably talking about those clappers. I hope she's talking about the clappers they hung out. People were chucking them on the ice after last game. Don't do
both
that.
fans, Lightning and Ranger fans, threw it after Game 3 on the ice.
Okay, so listen. Here's my thing. Here's my take, real quick.
Yes.
Because I haven't really commented or something. Rangers fans probably did it because they're pissed off, right? And I get that because we've already talked about Ranger fan. We don't need to go back there.
Sure.
Right. But Lightning fan, I just feel like sometimes you don't really know what you're doing and you're just super excited and you got something in your hand and you're just like, yeah. And it's like a hat trick or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't realize what you're doing until you do it. And I think that's what that is for the Lightning fans. I don't think that they were like, oh, we could hurt the players or blah, blah, blah. I just think that there was like such an incredible amount of relief and release after being down 0-2 in the series to coming back 0-2 in this game and in their house. And like they were trying to be loud. Like I just, you know what I mean? I'm not excusing it. I agree.
Being
Do not throw shit
blackout
on
drunk
the
is no
ice,
excuse
especially
for
super
this.
hard plastic things that could cut or injure our players in the face. We don't need that. I agree.
Right.
But at the same time, I just feel like it was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction for those Lightning fans in attendance that did it. I don't think it was malicious. I don't think it was like, oh, you guys are pieces of shit. Like I've seen people on Facebook and on Twitter and all that. Oh, the Lightning fans that did it, you're the worst. Dude, I don't think they were the worst. I think they were just fucking excited. Okay, give them a break. They were just.
There
excited.
are rats. Leave us alone.
Yeah,
but
they're just. Yeah.
Breaking news that isn't Lightning, that could be Lightning related. Colorado just swept Edmonton. Winning it in overtime and make their first Stanley Cup final since 2001.
And actually, the first game I met you guys at was one of your watch parties out at in East Lake, and it was against who? Colorado. Yes, I think we lost that game though.
It was lost in a shootout.
It was, yeah.
All right. So we'll see. That Colorado is now in the Stanley Cup final, not the finals. I learned that.
But guess what though? Now who gets to wait?
Yep. Now they're gonna have to wait.
They're gonna have to wait. So where they be rusty?
If anyone thinks this is a 5-game series, other than me,
at least
you're in.
They will have at least 8 days off and could have up to 11 days off.
11, which is worse, right?
Yeah.
And so look, man, I gotta take a break. But listen,
yes,
there's the question that I wanted to ask before is. So now you sweep, right? That's the one thing. In the 7-game playoff format, the possibility of sweeping is always there. How much of a negative thing is that? And do you think that the leagues that do these type of series should do something to try and combat that a little bit because you should be rewarded for sweeping a team, right? Shouldn't you be rewarded for that?
You should.
And yet, in the long run, that time off is exactly the opposite of a reward, right? It's like
It depends. It doesn't always have to be.
9
Lightning.
days, 11 days that you would have to wait between games. There has to be something that can be done. But what? That's what I'm asking you guys.
The reward is supposed to be the rest. I mean,
right. But then you look at exactly what we're facing right now. A team that we're playing that came in playing every other day, literally, since the playoffs started. The Rangers have been playing every other day, nonstop. They didn't have to have a back-to-back like the Lightning did because of a dumbass Kane Brown concert. So they've been playing every other game like clockwork, in perfect motion, in perfect harmony, in perfect sync. Like, wake up, play hockey, go to sleep, wake up, day off, go to sleep, wake up, play hockey, go to sleep, wake up, day off. Like, it's clockwork. The Lightning got out of it.
I think maybe you can do every 2 days games, and then if there's a sweep, you have to adjust maybe the other teams to every other day.
That's what I would say.
Right.
But and they used to do that. They used to have
2 days
before the lockout, and I think even COVID, right? Wasn't COVID that kind of what really
it was
when they changed
the last time they did it was the
situation?
year before COVID, where you had the travel day, then
was
you
2
also
days.
had a day off, and then it was game
and
day.
I believe they used to do that. Like, I guess I never paid attention to it because it didn't ever affect me as much, or really the playoffs, because you saw the Avalanche have already had 1 sweep. So that's the other thing that's crazy. Now this is 2 sweeps for the Avalanche, right? Because they swept the Predators because of no Saros. They've only
lost 2 games in the playoffs.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They're pretty good.
They're good.
They're pretty good.
Crazy.
There's
Carol had 5 points
But
tonight.
here's the thing, though. We talked about the Lightning earlier. Circle back to hockey again. We talked about the Lightning now facing the best playoff goalie, or the best goalie that they've probably seen in the last couple of years, and probably the second best playoff goalie aside from Bassey. But the Rangers, the Avalanche have gotten lucky because Saros, Vezina, nominated goalie, didn't play in the playoffs. That absolutely. I'm not saying that the Nashville wins that series, but that's not a sweep with Saros.
No,
period.
not at all.
That is not a sweep. That's a 6-game series. Saros still is 2. And with that, and that's not a non-talented team in Nashville, especially with that guy in net. They're a much better team with him in net. They play a much better game with him in net. We've seen it. And then they go and they don't have to play Bennington, who came in that series and got hot, and he got hurt. And I think if Bennington stays in that series in St. Louis, I don't know that Avalanche get out of that series, to be honest with you.
No, they were.
That's the last team to win the Stanley Cup, the St. Louis Blues, aside from a team named the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's a veteran team they still had there, and that's a goalie that was feeling himself when the Western Conference goalies were Swiss cheese. That was the only guy that was out there playing real fucking goal. I'm sorry, I'm full of F-bombs.
Well, then they played Mike Smith. So what's your excuse for that?
Right.
Tampa Bay legend.
Yeah, Tampa Bay mediocre legend. Talk about not a superstar.
All right. Well said, Stache, says Chad. Christopher says calls. Derek says Bagels keeps getting close. He needs to break through. Put one in the net. Christopher, Killer needs to continue to get better. Pig Dog Video 2001. Peter, this MJF situation, is it a work right? Absolutely a work. That's not a shoot. That is a great storyline that Tony Khan and him and AEW has come up with, because look, you can say whatever you want to about AEW being a superior product to WWE, but at the end of the day, their ratings are not there, everything they put into it. So they're trying to create something that's a little different. That's it. Yes.
They need more money.
That's it. More money. More money, more problems, right?
They don't got Shadow Mac. Money.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I got that too.
Here comes the money.
That needs to be my bumper music, bro.
Well, that's
that.
I do meetings in the morning for Policy Scout for my job during the day when I take about 700 or 800 calls and talk to a bunch of Neanderthals. which I don't talk to on this show. Thank God.
Way to separate your job from your hobby, bro.
I'm telling you, man. But here, listen, I've got to run the meetings in the morning, so I have to, pep everybody up. I have to be excited, so I have all these different sound effects, and that's always my walk-up music there. All right.
Love it.
Thanks, man. Who do you think becomes the interim champion? Moxley or Max Caster deserve a push? Guy's a good wrestler. He's hilarious. He is hilarious, a little bit controversial. I definitely think, Moxley's in the conversation.
My guy.
I think MJF, though, has got to be the guy. I mean, if you're building this whole storyline, the build-up for it, and then Punk coming back, to me, MJF, that's kind of been a drop ball. He's over at this point. He's the best heel in the business. He's 26 years old. I don't know how you don't put the belt
Peter,
on.
I think that the money AEW is really missing is Hook.
Yeah.
He's going to be a huge fan favorite, a huge superstar. They really pumped him up, and just being the son of Taz.
The submission machine.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, is very underrated in itself because he hurt his neck. You watch him at ECW. I mean, that guy could suplex anybody. You want to talk about Suplex City before Suplex City with Brock Lesnar?
Yeah,
that's Taz right there.
Hook's got that baby face that John Cena had when John Cena first came. I think the AEW is really missing out on not pushing him over. Definitely right now, why CM Punk's out.
I also think that you brought up one of the greatest guys. That's like I think Taz is like the Palat of professional wrestling, dude.
Yeah.
You want to tie the two things we've been talking about together? That guy could have been one of the greatest of all time. Injury took him out, and he's one of the best guys on the mic.
Yes.
Ever. And then to come back as a promoter and as a valet or a manager like that, dude, that guy, he goes up there for me, man. That guy, he's almost like a Cornette kind of guy for me right now, honestly.
ECW is so underrated.
Yeah. Dude, how Heyman, bro? Heyman changed the game. Heyman changed the game, and he forced McMahon to change the game to combat him.
Yes.
And unfortunately, he made McMahon go scorched earth on everybody.
Yeah.
Like I think that the whole Nitro thing was just like whatever. It was almost as much of a shoot as it was a work. The whole McMahon or Shane buying and blah blah blah. Like it was like it was both at the same time. Like that ECW thing, Vince was scared. Vince was scared, and Vince threw as much money as he had to make ECW basically go away.
Well, that was the first invasion, actually, because they had a working agreement, but they brought Rob Van Dam in versus
RVD.
And then, another underrated guy who's a Hall of Famer that doesn't get enough.
Not nearly.
Right, not nearly, because he was a great wrestler, too, and some of the matches he put on ECW, but
innovative.
That was the first invasion, and then Jerry Lawler. So they actually had a working agreement. People didn't know that at the time.
Yeah. They absolutely did.
Eric, were absolutely concerned about ECW because here's this young startup company that's doing these brutal matches, that's getting over with people. They have
They were doing 80s style stuff.
Yeah,
they were taking it back to the 80s, like we talked about before. They were taking it back to the 80s.
And they just got their TV deal and TNN, and then all of a sudden WWE swoops in and they got a TV deal. So it squashed it.
Listen, what happened to like these wrestlers having some serious consequences when they lose their fights? Like Jake the Snake putting the snake on you, or Brutus the Barber Beefcake chopping the hair up. Like you, there's no risk involved with these wrestlers
late
anymore.
80s, early 90s.
Look, you had
pinnacle wrestling.
Macho Man took on Jake the Snake. And they had a snake there, and it was supposed to be poisonous, and of course it wasn't.
It was.
But the snake actually
bit the hell out of
into Randy Macho Man Savage. They have it on there. Like, you could get away with that stuff today. Maybe back then, but not today. You couldn't do
That
it.
did scar me as a child a little bit.
Ever since Bubba killed a boar on live radio, things went bad.
There you go. Exactly. All right. So good stuff there. Let's go out to Derek. Stammer is the greatest Tampa Bay player, period. Derek again. Playoff Pally. Derek, Paul is a must keep. Too much heart and hustle to lose that. Feels like a gourd, filling that gourd hole there. Paul.
Whoa, phrasing.
Yes. Sarah says, GoFundMe for Nick Paul's salary. Laugh out loud. Derek, again, not just the money. Players have taken less to play on a proven winner. It's about the ring. If you have the chance to go for the money later. David says, just tuning in. Y'all said anything about Braden Point. We'll be back anytime soon. John Cooper ruled him out officially today. We'll keep you abreast of the situation. Tune in on Wednesday night here on The Evolution. Can't forget about ECW. Of course, also tune into this great podcast, We the Thunder, on Shooter and Stache here with the Stache, of course, Shooter and Thomas Schooley. Pig Dog, AEW over WWF. I agree with you on that. Once again, though, WWE is, the name. Everybody knows at this
Old
point.
school. Before the Pandas took over the branding for WWF.
Exactly. Get the F out. I remember that whole
Yep.
It was
Yep.
great. Dean Malenko had a wrestling school off a gun highway in between Casey Road and Limbaugh, and all big wrestlers used to go there. They still might. I don't know if he still has that. AEW is the best thing we've had since the Attitude Era. Wow, that's great. Cody is mid. I don't believe that.
Wow.
I think Cody is has always been a guy that can be in the main event. He's shown that throughout his career, and it's a shame that Vince dropped the ball. And you can see, guys, when Cody left AEW, that's the reason why WWE needed him. They're trying to build him up to be a top face to face Roman Reigns.
Well, listen, I'm going to say right now, I don't think Cody comes back without creative control.
Right. Well, of course.
There's no way he leaves AEW as a partner and founding member and come back to WWE if he doesn't have basically 100% now creative control over his character. And you know what I'm saying? Like he has to get a push. He's got to come through this injury clearly. But I mean, why else leave? That's why.
I thought the Cody Rhodes, Cody Rhodes, Ted DiBiase Jr., and Randy Orton. I thought that was one of the best until DiBiase Jr. got arrested for the DUI here in Tampa.
The biggest shot ball from that era of wrestling, of the WWE. Absolutely.
Right. I thought that those DiBiase and Cody Rhodes, I really thought they were going to go somewhere. And
well, the problem was that Orton, well, let's be honest though. Orton had always the problem with the pills and like the outside of the organization and being a legacy guy. And then like basically all three of them, they hooked up for the same reasons, right? They were all legacy guys. That's why they were called legacy. They're all multi-generational guys. They all grew up in the business. They all had kind of like the old school mentality that they were raised by the old school dudes, and they were trying to find their way in a new era, and they couldn't get away with shenanigans that their dads got away with, right? Or their dad, you know what I mean? And what really bothers me is that you've seen WWE /F stick by other guys in the past. I mean, how many chances did Jeff Hardy get? Which you know what I mean? Nothing against Jeff's one of my favorites of all time, but how many chances did he get, right?
A million.
Meanwhile, we've got DiBiase.
After the incident that happened in Impact Wrestling versus Sting, he should have never gotten a chance again. But
ever with anyone, right? And he's one of my favorites of all time.
Right.
He's like seriously, but you got guys like Rhodes and DiBiase Jr. who still were doing the work. They made some mistakes a little bit, but they were working the business. They were doing it the right way.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like WWE dropped the ball with that. Like, and you're absolutely right, Thomas. Like that to me was one of the greatest groups that they could have absolutely used to propel their brand to the next generation and the future. And they dropped the ball with all three of those guys. But at the same time, none of those three guys did themselves any favors at that moment, right?
No.
Pills for Orton, DUI for DiBiase, and a little bit of a shitty attitude from Cody, from being the America James brother, and then also in the shadow of Dustin.
That's
you know
it.
what I mean?
That's it.
So
Gold Dust.
Well, and Cody was always the black sheep of Dusty Rhodes.
Even though Dustin tried to be Dusty, Cody is Dusty.
Yeah.
Right. With the same spirit, the same brain, the same mentality, the same love for
the
wrestling.
same list.
Absolutely. He's got the same lip. He's got the hair, almost the same hair lip, kind of. Absolutely. Yes.
Good. That's good stuff. All right. Christopher Cole says Colorado just tied the game in the third. Anwar says, "What's up, Peter? What's going on, Anwar?" Derek says, "Lifted weights next to Eddie Guerrero at the gym in Carrollwood. Cena big show. It's crazy. Never knowing who could show up." Derek again. Avs just took the lead. Of course, we found out that the Avs won, so this is just before. Let's go Avs. Anwar says 5-4 Avs. We can't be stopped. Rick versus Cena.
I think it's Rock. Supposed to be Rock.
The Rock, yeah. The ladder matches with Hardy and Edge and Christian. Anwar again. Rock versus Cena. Absolutely saw that down in Miami. Oh my God, Edmonton blew it. Pig Dog again. Austin versus Hart. WrestleMania 13 started the Attitude Era. Of course, the Crimson Mask that Austin wore was him getting over at the time. Definitely getting over at the crowd. Nothing until Mankind went off the top of the Hell in the Cell. Who could forget that versus Undertaker? It's been a wrestling show. I love this. Derek says Edmonton ties it back up 5-5. Pat Maroon versus Gronk. Dave says, what about the Von Erich family versus the Freebirds? We talked about that. Derek says, I preferred Gilbert. Mike says, yo, Peter H. Blake. Mike Andrews, what's going on? Rangers in 7. And this is what you get for that. We will beat the Rangers. Oh, I think he said Rangers in 7. Now he's saying we will beat the Rangers. So I guess you're a Lightning fan. So, okay, cool. The Hulk Hogan one you just sent me. I got that. 7-game series. I like it. Derek says 20-something may be too old. She liked Nick's friend, didn't she? Derek says another round Stache. Derek again. It's a wonderful train wreck of glorious proportions. Derek again. Now it's Nashville for the Rays. Oh, please. R.I.P. Airbuds, laugh out loud. Let's go out to Rex Grossman. Lightning fixed all their championships. Go Blackhawks. This is what you get for that. Wow. There's so many here. Yeah, exactly. Rex says, Peter, unblock my Troy account. I didn't block it. Warren Sapp is a Bucs legend. Stop hating. Derek, Sapp was busy telling kids, I don't flick.
Biatch!
I was going to the finals. David says, my grandson was less than 24 hours old, and Tony Dungy came in to St. Joseph's Women's Hospital, came into my daughter's room, sat and talked with them for a little bit, took a picture with all of them, and he held my grandson in a couple pictures. What a friggin' story. Awesome. Thank you, David. Appreciate it. Derek says, Kalta and Sapp, that's a combo. Derek, with Kemper hurt, that they may be happy for time off.
Mm-hmm.
Roger says, I'm here. Troy, acknowledge me. Rex says, see you at work tomorrow, Pete. Meeting at 10 a.m. No, you won't. Because the meeting's at 9 a.m. So you don't work with me, liar. Colorado scored 3 goals in the final 8 minutes and 1 in overtime. Amazing stuff there. No dummies. Meeting at 9 a.m. More proof you don't work with us, Derek, again. McJesus goes back to his cave till it's time to rise again next season. Eric, any chance?
With Matthews. Sorry, him and Matthews.
There you go. Any chance Point plays if the Bolts win Game 4? I think there's a possibility. These guys say not.
10.
I heard
10%.
10%. Okay. Rex Grossman says, boss just texted me and told me to tell Peter the meeting changed to 10. You don't work with us, Roger Shue. Not true. Lies. Eric says, or are they waiting to the finals? We shall see. Roger says, you're full of stuff. Boss is my friend. Roger again. Interim champ is Peter. Thank you very much, Roger. Appreciate you. Rex says, acknowledge your master's troll.
You're not a troll. That's weak.
Hookhausen, yes. Are the Lightning doing good so I can jump on the bandwagon like everybody else? Once again, this is what you get for that. Roger says, Danhausen cursed Peter. Okay. Roger says Vince paid the payroll for ECW. He did have a working arrangement, if I can talk. Cody is a legend. Evolution. There you go. That's what we love. Rex,
Evolution.
Can we talk NASCAR? No, we cannot. This is what. Well, hold on.
Wait. No Tony Stewart.
No Tony Stewart. Okay, so
bullshit. Tony Stewart is the stone cold of NASCAR. All right, Tony Stewart was the stone cold of NASCAR. All
this
right?
tattoo was paid for by Bubba the Love Sponge.
Dale Earnhardt was the Bret Hart of NASCAR.
Bubba the Love Sponge paid for this tattoo. Let's tie this whole show together. That's
what else? What else did he pay for you to do?
Yes. That was just a start. You're my best friend.
How many chances has Jimmy Uso got? That's a great question. We haven't talked about the Usos, of course. We know
Tony,
who
I
they're
can't.
related to.
That's why I stopped watching. I'm gonna tell you right now. I stopped watching because of that.
Really?
Family, honestly. Yeah.
Well, I think again they're setting up The Rock versus Roman Reigns. I mean, that's what we all anticipate.
They set up 3 years ago. Actually, we should have already had it.
We should already
could
had
have
it.
moved on with
I
all
agree.
the other talent and all the other things and all the great storylines. Sorry,
Right.
move on.
Okay.
The,
All right.
the
I got
fans
you.
deserve.
I agree. Point will be back next. Playoffs, $9 million over the cap is the excuse for next year's losers. And Roger says Dale Sr. is God. So there you go. We talked
Jehovah.
NASCAR. Guys, this has been an unbelievable show. Go ahead and promote your podcast here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. I'll just call you the Bally Boys from now on.
Shoot, take it away, my friend.
Twitter at We the Thunder Pod. You can get fun tweets like, I wonder what strip club the New York Rangers are going to tonight, and other fun tweets. Follow
Will they
us.
hit Texas State Brazil before or after?
Shooter and the Stache, Facebook, YouTube, and Thomas Gooley has himself a nice little group full of some awesome Bolts fans in the Thunderbolts on Facebook.
All right, go ahead, promote that.
Thunderbolts, one of the biggest Lightning fans Facebook group. Just type in Thunderbolts 2 words on Facebook. Join us. We have fun on game days. We tell you what we hear, any kind of inside information, anything going on, and we'll show every time we do the after show, we put it on there.
All right,
Thomas
good
is being
stuff.
humble. Thomas is being humble, man. Thomas is the guy at the airport. You want to know when the Lightning land, when the Lightning leave. You want to know when they're leaving the arena. You want to know all the insider information. Thomas Gooley, that's your guy. That's why he's part of what we do, because he's that fan insider that we have. I just want to let you guys all know we're live after every post game. However many are left in this run, that's what we do. We go live after every post game. During the regular season, we go Tuesday nights. If there's a game, it's after the game. If not, we do it a little bit earlier. We like to have a lot of guests on. We gave away so much stuff. That's the other thing about what we do on We the Thunder. It's a fan show. We give away stuff. And I want to give a shout out real quick at the end of the night, specifically to Derek and Sarah. Those are two of our biggest fans on our show. They're always bringing the comments in the chat whenever we're going live. Shout out to them. There's a couple other of our fans over here tonight, specifically to see us on our show here with Sports Web and Peter Blake. One of the best things that you could see here in Tampa Bay when you want to be a sports fan.
Thank you.
But I want to give a shout out to the fans that came for us here in the chat, because that's what they do. They always come correct. We love to give stuff away. So if you are a Lightning fan, if you're a sports fan in Tampa Bay, if you like to be part of the things that we do as fans, that's why you come and watch We the Thunder. That's why you follow Shooting the Stache. That's why you join Thunderbolts. And that's why you watch a guy like Peter Blake with the Sports Web, because he brings the passion and he brings on people. We don't bring the nonsense, do we?
They never bring the nonsense, guys. Say it with me. 3 things. You ready?
Mm.
Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense.
Boom. Stole your thunder.
There you go, guys.
Now,
yes.
This last comment here, I promise the next 2 games I will be reporting from Schooley's Bush down at the arena.
All right. And no spoilers. No spoilers. You won't know what that is unless you tune in to We the Thunder post game after the game tomorrow night on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch.
Let's just put it this way. Thomas Schooley does not grow a playoff beard, but he might grow a playoff something else.
It's a veritable forest down there.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Show's over.
Appreciate you as always. Definitely don't be strangers. Anytime you guys want to come on the Sports Web, more than welcome. All right. Hey,
You're the best, man.
Hey, man, you're the best. And you guys tune in to the wrestling segment we have on Wednesday night, although we had kind of our own wrestling segment. So anytime you guys want to chime in, you let me know. All right.
Absolutely, brother.
All right. Good stuff there, guys. Thanks a lot there. And they are gone. And here we are back again, talking about your Tampa Bay Lightning, talking about professional wrestling, talking about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, taking your phone calls, engaging in conversation that you want to engage in. So on that note, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. We'll be back on Wednesday night. We'll try to have Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News talk more about Game 4 coming up as the Tampa Bay Lightning take on the New York Rangers. And if they can win that game, which I think they do, they tie up the series and back to New York. But first things first, thanks to Leo Haggerty. Thanks to We the Thunder, the podcast there, Shooter and Stache, Thomas Schooley, and all the calls as always, because you make the show. Let me go back out to the comments here before we get off here. New Smack shirt, play all Bush. I like it. And Roger says he's going to your mom's house. And I think he's talking about Troy, as we love not only the tribal troll and a Roger, but of course, we love Troy Polamalu, whatever your name is at this point. See you tomorrow, Pete. No, you won't. You will not see me tomorrow at all. Thanks a lot to all the guests, as always, because once again, you make this possible. We'll be back on Wednesday night, 9 o'clock here live on I Love St. Pete, Amped Up Sports, and of course, The Hub. Definitely like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube and do 3 things for me as we wrap it up on this Monday night. Victory Monday. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Go Bolts.
Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
BetUS.com. If you guys are betting on the games, whether it's NFL, NCAA, of course, you're not going to do that now. Maybe basketball, not football, but of course, the NHL, NBA, go to BetUS.com. You get a 125% sign-up bonus. And also, if you use this code right here, the promo code of TSW22, which, by the way, stands for the Sports Web, TSW22, or call that number 1-800-69-BET-US. Again, 1-800-69-BET-US, and put in that promo code TSW22, and I would really appreciate that.
I've had 27 beers spilled on me. Make that 28.
I've only got one place to go before the game.
BetUS.com.
Sign up at BetUS.com and get the best bonuses in the industry.
Yeah. Uncle Peter. Uncle Peter. Uncle Peter. Where's Uncle? Where's Uncle Peter?